The league that never sleeps. It just never sleeps. Welcome aboard National Football Show, your boy Big Sills. You know, the NFL had its kind of Oscar weekend with the combines and a lot of intel coming out of that. And now what is it? We are 9 days from free agency. Tomorrow is when you can determine if you're going to use the franchise tag or not. That's the last day you can use it. That's a league that never sleeps. Obviously, today there's news with the Eagles. We're going to get to that here in a minute. Guys, do me a favor. Please hit the like button. All supers go to the top. There was also a trade over the weekend, and I love it, and I'll explain. You know, it's funny. I heard all the shows, our networks in Philadelphia, and also in D.C. about the Deebo Samuel. I got a different angle on it. I mean, you guys are looking at that trade wrong. So we'll hit on that. First and foremost, let's take a look at what happened just a couple minutes ago with Darius Slay being whacked by the Eagles and being released, waived. There's no question nobody's going to pick that contract up, so he'll clear waivers. And where he lands, it will determine probably when it comes to on what and how much money, and also if you are a contender, and if the Eagles do want to offer him some money, which I think they were, and I think they're going to. I had a conversation with Robert Bailey. Robert Bailey works in the Drew Rosenhaus firm, and Robert Bailey played with me at the University of Miami. So we have some insight here a little bit. Again, they don't want to show their cards, rightfully so, but they have not closed the door on returning to Philadelphia. If the price is right, Howie's going to save $4.3 million on the cap. You've got pending free agents that you have to deal with. There's a lot of work to do, but hey, as of March 3rd, you just got worse. You know, I hear people saying, well, I'm just going to put Cooper DeJean out there on the numbers and put him at corner. You're assuming and giving the benefit of the doubt that he's going to walk out there. It's a completely different position playing nickel corner than playing actual cornerback. I'm not saying he can't. I just don't know. It's an outlier. You have no idea. Only conjecture that he can play that position. I'm not saying he can. I don't know. We'll have to see when he's lined up as a pure corner. I have no idea. Again, I'm not saying it's a bad move by Philly. I'm suggesting that's probably what they thought all along. By the way, if any of you are sitting here thinking that all of a sudden on March 3rd they decided to cut Darius Slay, you're out of your mind. Howie had this probably in his mind, and so did the organization, February 10th, maybe even prior to that they were going to move off of Slay. They're going to do things in chronological order, freeing cap money up, and then making some offers to some of the pending free agents. They're not in a rush. Hence, here we are, March 3rd. None of the free agents have been, at least publicly, approached yet by the front office. That's publicly. Not saying that there's not jockeying going back and forth. Let me give you my take here on Slay. He's been a great Eagle. Darius Slay has been a Pro Bowler every year that you guys made the move to get him from Detroit. He has been in that kind of Malcolm Jenkins kind of room where he was a great Eagle. Darius Slay has been a great Eagle. Again, some of the comments, you know, you kind of put that shit to the side after everything is said and done when you look at the player's resume. You know, we talked about Jalen Hurts' resume. Darius Slay in the last 4 years has been the most accomplished Philadelphia Eagle defensive football player that they have had. And there's nobody even close. He has been the most accomplished player on a team that went to 2 Super Bowls, won 2 NFC championships, and has a Super Bowl ring. he has been the most accomplished. This is one of Howie's spectacular trades. If not, maybe his best trade alongside A.J. Brown. He has had the impact on defense the same way A.J. had impact on offense. Darius Slay is the A.J. Brown of the Eagle defense the last 4 years. He's been absolutely sensational. Last year was a tough year for him. Played well, but often injured. Xander and I had a conversation about potentially moving him. Hey, and by the way, just so you know, remember what I said? Trade him? The Eagles were already, probably when I started even bringing up trading him mid-season last year, they already knew probably right there that they were going to move off from him as soon as they got closer to free agency, which is March 12th. So they probably already knew that. He's been a great player, a great football player, and a great addition to that team. I mean, what did Vic Fangio say about Darius Slay? He ages like fine Dago wine. I'm going to have to concur because he has. And I still think he's got some football left in him. You know, Rosenhaus and his people have not closed the door on him coming back. I heard Xander throw the number of $10 million. I think that's too high. $10 million for a 34-year-old dude? I mean, what's the savings? $2 million? I mean, he's going to clear waivers. So what would be the sense of cutting him if it's only over $2 million? I think you've got to whack that thing in half. Between 6 to 8. Somewhere down there. I mean, $2 million, I'm not looking to save $2 million off of Darius Slay's deal. I'm looking at saving somewhere in the neighborhood of $6 million so that I can get these other free agents signed or put a good deal on the table for them. By the way, just shows you right now, too, how he's patient. He's looking at the entire 6 months. He's not looking at 9 days here. By the way, we want to start the show off with always big sales and our good friends at BetUS powers the next 4 hours. Please hit the like button and all supers go to the top. So he's been a great player. Now replacing him is going to be, you see, you understand something about the Slay retirement now and the Brandon Graham retirement. You now lose basically 2 starters, one guy who they were both starting at one time this year. BG, more depth. Okay? Plus, they were probably moving on from him anyway. It was probably still a decision on what they were going to do with Slay. If Slay was healthy, they probably would have brought him back. I still think the salary was a determining factor on why they didn't bring him back. By the way, it's no disrespect. They probably had conversations with him. As far as I know, I've never heard the Eagles say one disparaging word about Darius Slay. So I'm sure they had this conversation with him and they informed the player face-to-face. There's no way that's a fucking phone call from your agent going, guess what? The Eagles are moving on from. There's no way Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman didn't call the player or see the player face-to-face because he deserves that. He's played that kind of football for you. So he got probably the utmost respect by the organization. Would I bring him back? Here, let's debate that at first. Okay. His retirement affects 2 positions. One, you've got to take Cooper DeJean out of the nickel and put him over there on number. Are you weakening your team by doing that? Some of you are going to go, you're crazy. I don't know. You don't either. You have no idea how that player is going to perform as a true corner. And again, I'm not saying he won't. They play that too high safety anyway. It's not like this guy's a lockdown fucking corner. They play that zone coverage. 10 yards off the ball, 8 yards off the ball. Put a very talented kid back there. I don't know that it's going to be that big of a difference. You might get the Cam Jurgens effect where you upgraded when it comes to youth and athleticism. Cooper DeJean is a better athlete than Darius Slay. So I feel pretty good sending him out there. Who are you going to put in your nickel? I mean, if I bring Isaiah Rodgers back, I'm using Isaiah Rodgers as a swing corner. I'm not high on Kelee Ringo. I don't think Kelee Ringo, I don't know. You guys, I know he's a young kid still. Okay, I get it. But for me, I'm not sold on Kelee Ringo being anybody. I don't see it at all. Okay? Ace, appreciate it. Supers go to the top. Please hit the like button. Hey, Sills, does the move show that they are doing this for Garrett? Also, why would they chase him when we moved from Reddick and just won the Super Bowl? Hey, here's why, Ace. Myles Garrett makes you a better football unit on defense. He just makes you better. He just completely makes you a better and more intimidating football team. And he's more versatile. He would be immediately your best football player on defense. Be a great battle between Jalen Carter and Myles Garrett, who would be the defensive player of the year. You might have two guys battling that out. Don't you think a guy like Myles Garrett would help a guy like Jalen Carter, and Jalen Carter helping a guy like Myles Garrett? Holy shit. It'd be the best duo in football. No team in the NFL would have a duo like that. Aaron Donald never had that. I mean, get this. Once again, your Nolan Smith won't be ready for training camp. Why? He's under the knife. Dude, stop with this Nolan Smith shit. Watch this. When you're talking about Myles Garrett, he's not that good. When you talk about him and Trey Hendrickson, I'm not doing that. When you're talking Myles Garrett, he's not that good. And he's been injured every year he's played. Every year. Every year he's played, he's been injured. So, the Darius Slay move is interesting. What are you going to do now at corner? If you do move Cooper out there, what are you doing in the middle of your field to keep it strong? Are you bringing Avonte Maddox back? Who are you putting in that? Who are you putting in that nickel slot? Who's going there? Who are you putting there? Sidney Brown? No way. Are you looking at free agency or in a draft? What are you doing to replace him? Starter number one on defense. Potentially lost. And I say potentially because I do still think that there's a shot he can clear waivers and you can re-sign him. I personally think after talking to Robert, let me see if he gave me more, or if he, I text him, and I want to see if we can have a little dialogue here between me and him on what's going on. I want to go too deep into this, but I want to see where their heads are right now. I know Detroit wants him back. Hell no on Maddox. Draft a slot. Okay. I think there's some pretty good, after watching the combines, there's some dudes in there that I could put in that position. Plus, I have great trust in Vic Fangio. By the way, I thought it was great. If you go over to my Twitter, I sent Milford Academy a great conversation with the PR director and one of the assistant coaches. I said, do you guys remember recruiting me and having Vic Fangio recruit me to go to Milford Academy? He goes, Big Sills? Of course we do. So they followed me on Twitter, and they actually sent the scholarship request because, that's where kids go. They don't have super grades. You go to an academy, then you can go to Pitt, Penn State, place. I was going to go to Pitt, believe it or not, if I went to Milford. Foge Fazio and Jackie Sherrill were sending me there. So they've started following me over on Twitter. That's the very first job Vic Fangio ever had, was the defensive coordinator at Milford Academy. And Vic recruited me back in the day. So they started following me, which was pretty cool. So anyway, guys, do me a favor. Please hit the like button. I have great faith in Vic being able to find somebody for that nickel. So, yeah, I mean, let's see what transpires over the next couple days here with that. All right, some other news. James Jones, are you in here? Is James Jones in here? My resident Washington Redskin fan, are you in here? Funny how people didn't get the trade. It's funny. Is my guy James Jones, the Washington guy, in here? There he is. All right, James. Over the weekend, Deebo Samuel was traded for a fifth rounder to Washington. It's a great move. It's a fabulous move. Stills, thanks for the Pete Rose interview. Trump and Major League Baseball are doing the right thing. It's time Howie is looking for cap change. In between the sofa now. Hollywood, thank you. Hey, by the way, we did one of the last interviews that Pete Rose ever did right here on JAKIB. That's what we do here. By the way, tomorrow at 5:30, tomorrow at 3:30, we will have on Jeff Fisher, the former defensive coordinator of Gang Green and also head coach of the Titans, Rams. He's now the commissioner of the Arena Football League. We're going to talk ball with our friend. That'll be tomorrow at 3:30. Deebo Samuel is a fabulous trade for the Washington Commanders, and here's why. Deebo Samuel is not the number one wide receiver. He wasn't in San Francisco. It was Brandon Ayuk or George Kittle. He was a gadget player. He was never the number one guy. For all intent purposes, who on San Francisco played well last year? Name me one. Name me one Niner who played well. Now, is he the same player at, say, 3 years ago? No. But that's not what he's being traded for. He's being traded because he's going to be the number two to Terry McLaurin. His role's changed. He'll be one of the best twos in the league because you can do more with him. If you're under the impression Cliff Kingsbury, who had a spectacular year, with Jaden Daniels is not going to utilize him the same way, you're out of your fucking mind. Like I said, though, let's go down the list here. I mean, nobody played well on San Francisco. Nobody, including the quarterback. And I said he's in that two role. He's not the feature receiver in Washington. McLaurin is. Tell you this, he's the best slot receiver in the NFC East. Name me one. Name me a better receiver. That's a slot. CD, okay. So we're talking CD Lamb and Deebo? Okay. So Deebo's the second best slot receiver in the NFC East. Okay. I mean, last year, what did Devontae Smith do? He's more physical. He makes your football team physical also. 51 catches, 670, 3 touchdowns, 806 in total yards. Obviously a down year. San Francisco had a down year. But he's in the 2 role. He's not the feature wide route. You know, if those are number 1 wide receiver numbers, obviously you're like, and I said it. He's not the same player 3 years ago. But they put him in a different role. Okay? I mean, he's in a different role. Big Sills, Philadelphia celebrating them. I heard your name on 4 different podcasts this weekend. Most mad at you about the add Smitty to the Garrett trade. Hey, Anthony, I'll say this with you in all due respect to you. They listen to you too. They come here for content, folks. That's why you're hearing our name on multiple shows. And also, when you get the type of people we get on the program, and we got guys like you and everybody that's in our chat and part of our family, what do you think Xander's been telling you? They come here to listen to you. This is why they hate you. Hey, I want to make this very clear, though, about Samuel. Is that the Deebo Samuel of 3 years ago? No way. But he'll be going against lesser players. He's not going against the top corner. Deebo Samuel versus safeties, I'll take that. If healthy. Deebo was so happy he isn't a giant. No shit. Who wants to be that thing? Super chats go to the top. Jahan is a better... Absolutely fucking not. That's why Washington quit on him, right? A first-round pick. Jahan Dotson's a better fucking slot. Sure. Jahan Dotson is functional. Deebo on Eagles, he's great. Any other teams, he's trash. Of course he is. Stupid. By the way, 2024, he's over. Starter number 1, lost. There's a shot the Eagles will have 4 starters lost on defense. How you doing? You have the guy not to make that happen, though, in your GM. I'm going to make a point to you on where you sit today versus the Dallas Shitboys. You ready? Going into 2025, Dak Prescott's cap hit is $90 million. Jalen Hurts is $21 million. There lies the difference between the Cowboys and the Eagles. The Eagles are just smarter. They are a smarter organization, top to bottom, than the Dallas Cowboys. The money speaks. Hey, you can have people hype your fucking team up all you want. At the end of the day, how's your cap look? How are you maneuvering contracts around? Cowboys can't do it. They're not functional. The Cowboys either overspend and over-evaluate. That's been for 30 years. That's for the last 30 years. Cowboys should have got Deebo. Dude, Anthony, correct. On the other side of CeeDee Lamb? Sure. The only thing I would say, Anthony, is that they kind of duplicate one another. Because I think Washington's going to put him in the slot. I'm talking Deebo. McLaurin's the dude. It's not Deebo Samuel. So here's your offense in Washington now. Zach Ertz, Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin, Robinson, and Jaden Daniels. That's not awful. That's not awful. That's going to move the sticks in the NFC. Okay? I mean, Hey, and by the way, Philly 500 is going to come on with us at 4:30. He said this, we'll be okay. I'm not saying you're not going to be okay with the loss of Slay. You start adding 4 players to that conversation, you are in trouble with the simple question of, how's it going to look? Simple as that. How is it going to look if you lose 4 guys to free agency? We'll be okay, Sills. You get that benefit of the doubt only because you're champs. That's it. If you weren't champs, I would never. But because you're champs, you get the benefit. Okay? Slay, Davis, Williams, and Bond all go. It's a completely different defense. I don't give a shit. Now, you flip that around and you sign Myles Garrett, and then you turn around and you put a Nick Bolton or a Dre Greenlaw in that linebacking core, you got better. You got better. Okay? I mean, Garrett will cover a lot of bumps and bruises in free agency if you land that dude. Washington not done. They have money to spend in free agency. They got a shitload of money. Did you see what they did with Samuel's contract? They picked the entire $17 million deal up. It's a 1-year deal. It's smart. Okay? People in here saying, I'm not worried. I didn't say he should be. I'm just saying there's a potential that you're going to lose 4 starters as of March 3rd. Here, I haven't even gotten off the front page yet. Let's do this. Where's Zach Bond's deal? They started contract negotiations with Michael Parsons today in Dallas. Trey Smith got franchise tagged on Friday, not allowing him to go into free agency. Where's Bond's deal? Anybody here? Where's Bond's deal? Where's Becton's deal? Any conversation yet? According to Zach Bond's agent, Zach Bond's preparing for free agency. He said it. Agents preparing for free agency. Now, is that a negotiating ploy to get them quicker to the table with a contract? Absolutely true. Yes. Yes. Hit the like button, guys. Give me a total, please, on the likes. Lose 4, get Myles and Bolton, add debt to DT. Martin, you're better. The Kansas City linebacker has had a better career than Zach Bond. Bond's had a great historic year. Bolton's a better player and he's younger. Bolton's a better player. I cannot believe that Kansas City's going to let that guy walk out the building. I think get this, I think they're facing the same shit with him that the Eagles are facing with Bond on what to do. If Dallas pays Parsons, they are done. No cap space. Completely true. They can't manage a checkbook. They're like my wife managing a checkbook. Washington quit on Dot just to get a wide receiver the Niners quit on. Yeah, sure. Okay. You're right. The 17th pick. Dude, Deebo Samuel is superior to that nobody Jahan Dotson. First pick in the draft, first rounder. Was he 17th player taken? And they traded him in the division. I don't think anything of him. He went from being a first rounder to a guy. How many targets did he get this year? 2? 20? 15? I didn't even know he was on the field most of the year. Still, he got some work in the playoffs. That's a first rounder. And shit, you gave a third up for him. Okay. Hey, again, I'm not debating. Jahan fucking nobody. Jahan has a ring. Yeah, you're right. Jahan's a better player than Deebo. Okay. Hey, get this. Kenny Pickett's got a ring and Dan Marino doesn't. So Kenny Pickett's better, right? It's so stupid. Hey, I'm actually shocked in this. T. Higgins just got tagged again. That's stunning because Cincinnati had a string going. Every single guy that they've ever tagged, they've never brought back. And do you know what that means? That's like $25 million. They're paying him. It's $25 million. Don't mention Jahan without saying champ. Deebo's a certified loser. Sure. Okay. Jahan Dotson sucks. Completely a bust in the NFL. Say it. Say it with me. He is a first-round bust. Say it. He's not quite Jalen Reagor, but close. Say it. You think he's better than Quez Watkins? I'm not sure about that. Him and Quez Watkins are the same dude. Whatever. I'm not debating or even having. I'm wasting 5 minutes of my show on Jahan Dotson. Give me a fucking break. All right. As we move on, we're going to look at the draft. The combines. Winners and losers. It's March 3rd. It's March 3rd. Where's the bond deal? Chills, how many years you give Miles? 3. I give him 3 years. 3-year contract. I think every one of these players that the Eagles have that are going to be free agents are going to be. You're 9 days out. Let's say this to you. You don't have a deal done by Friday with any of these guys, they're all free agents. Then you are at the mercy of the market. And there's too many stupid teams. As we said, personally also, I think Howie probably wants to get a sense of what the market is for Zach Bond. Because what everyone will tell you, the most coveted players in free agency are not the linebacker. It's the edge rusher in Josh Sweat, who Miami wants to make a play for. Doesn't shock me because Rosenhaus has great relationships with people in the Miami Dolphin organization, and they want to replace Calais Campbell there with him. Wouldn't shock me if Arizona offered a contract as well. So, I mean, the two most coveted free agents right now are your 2 down linemen, not your linebacker. And once again, you guys are completely missing the point on Samuel. Samuel going as a 2 now. Instead of being the focal point in San Francisco, it's a completely different role. He's going against lesser players. Because you've got Terry McLaurin, who's your number 1. Common sense. You're going against the lesser and the more usually inexperienced player if you're the number 2 wideout. You're not asking him to be the focal point. So in that role, it's expensive. If anything, I would say this. Washington, that's expensive. $17 million for a 2 wide receiver? That's a lot. He makes more than Devontae this year. That's a ton of money for a guy that's the number 2 wide receiver. I mean, I get Cincinnati with T. Higgins because of his health. But think about it. They're only paying T. Higgins $6 million more because of that franchise tag than what they're going to play Deebo Samuel in D.C. That's a ton of money, and I get it. They have the money. But I think you'd want to be a little bit more frugal in spreading that around. You need help in the O-line, too. Dude, Micaiah Becton, if I were Washington, I'd go get his ass, too. I'd sign Becton, and I'd sign Vaughn and put him on Washington. That is, again, what I would do. Part one, Seals, you really enjoy doing that. We often say Vic is a great DC, and you always respond by saying he doesn't have a Super Bowl ring. Not sure what the fuck you're talking about again, Prince. I told you have the guy to – I'm not going to quantify what I said 10 minutes ago. Replay the tape. Go back and catch up with us because I think you're behind. Either that or you're too fucking slow. Hit the like button, guys. I've already told you about both Howie and Vic. I didn't say on the – you guys have to have reach-arounds every day, don't you, to make yourselves feel pretty good about yourselves. Well, here, let me give Prince a reach-around. Hey, Prince, I said you got the guys to right the ship. Okay, you feel better about yourself? Cool. All right. Washington, will they become now a threat? Washington can be a threat because Washington has money and Adam Peters. If the Eagles lose 4 defensive starters, you're not the same team. And I would say this, even on September 8th, I don't know what the defense is going to look like. You're going to be back in that position again. Now, do I think all the free agents are gone? No. But I do think you're going to let them walk into free agency. I do not believe Howie Roseman's going to have a deal signed this week on any one of those free agents. Do you? Green Bay is targeting DK Metcalf, arms race in the NFC. I heard that, Leon, but I also heard that there was some pausing after the combines when it came to that deal with Seattle and Green Bay. How many people believe that every one of the free agents, the big four, okay, Becton, Vaughn, Milton Williams, and Josh Sweat. You want to throw Isaiah Rodgers in there? Okay. Are all 5 of those guys walking into free agent? How many of the 5 are going into free agent? I say 4. I don't know which 4. I don't know which 4. But of the 5 big free agents, how many people do you believe walk into free agency midnight, March 12th? I say 4. I don't want to negotiate with myself with Zach Bond. Dude, from what I understand, Zach Bond doesn't want to leave. He just wants a fair offer. Crowley says all 5 hit free agency. Shit. That would concern me, Crowley. If all 5 hit free agency, that's a lot of work. Dude, you got to run a dual track then. Crowley, you got to run a free agency track, and you're starting to still evaluate your draft choices. Egan just got tagged. Saw that. Dotson is a better option at our wide receiver than we've had in the past. I'm telling you, you tend to use the Super Bowl to define whether a player is great. I'm not, again, understanding what you're. So you think if you play in the. So are you trying to tell me you think Nolan Smith is a better player than Myles Garrett because he played in the Super Bowl and won it? Is that what you're saying? Prince, you're not saying that, are you? That you think Nolan Smith is a better player because he has a Super Bowl ring and Myles Garrett doesn't? Oh, Prince, I'm going to wait for you to answer that. Is that what you're saying? You're telling me, yes, exactly. Here's a guy I'll never debate with ever again. I'll never debate that guy again. I'll never debate this guy again. Come on, let's go. How many people believe that Nolan Smith, because he's got a ring, is a better player than Myles Garrett? Tell me. See those two guys? I will never have a conversation with them again because there's no conversating. That's not a conversation that I even want to approach. I'll say this to you, Nolan being part of a unit, he's a fit for what they did. Yes. And by the way, for the record, I am not saying Nolan's not good. There's a reason. How many people believe that Jahan Dotson will ever in his fucking life make $18 million a year? That guy's a $2.5 million wideout at best in his career. $3 million, maybe. That guy's not better than Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen was 10 times the player. Hunter Renfrow was better. I can name you guys who are middle of the road that were fucking 5 times better than that guy. Weird way of looking at shit. Trevor Keegan is a better offensive guard than Zach Martin because Trevor Keegan has a ring and Zach doesn't. Okay. Where do you get that from? How in the world is that how you look at players? So according to Prince and others and some of these other guys, Trevor Keegan and Tyler Steen are better football players than Zach Martin because they own a ring. Okay? I mean, yeah. I mean, how funny. Stupidity. Hey, you want to see stupid? Read about 20% of the fucking chat today. That's stupid. No debate. Here's why I think Washington is going to be a little bit more difficult moving forward. By the way, is Washington moving the sticks closer to Philly? Not so much in the Deebo Samuel ad. It's going to be in the Eagle minuses. That's where this is going to get. How many players are going to exit Philly? That's the question. It's not adding unless you get Garrett in Washington. Unless you get Myles Garrett in Washington. Sign Dre Greenlaw. You know what? I'd rather take the kid Bolton because he's not hurt. Instead of going and getting somebody like Dre. I don't know what Dre's going to look like coming off that Achilles injury. I like the player a lot. I think he's tough. I think he fit right into Philly. I'd really have to work him out. Okay? I really would. Dude, if we're talking about this now, make no mistake about it. Howie started talking about this last offseason. Okay? Last offseason, he started doing this. Okay? Get this. You realize Dotson on his last year was rookie deal. It's an option of over $10 million. So, hey, let me ask you this. Eagle Nest, you think the Eagles are going to pick up a 50-year option on your so-called superstar for $10 million? Who barely gets the football thrown to him? Or do they let him walk? Or trade him? How many people believe the Eagles will pick up that 50-year option of $10 million for a guy who's a non-factor? Sign C.J. Mosley, another good player, kid from the Jets. Okay? Sign Jahan Dotson for $10 million. And then once you let that guy go, you gave a third up for him. Hey, he made some plays in the Super Bowl. That's not $10 million. That's not $10 million. Hit the like button, guys. Do me a favor. Give me a number on the likes. Appreciate you guys in here. Well, at least 95% of you, I appreciate in here. Some of you, honestly, need to have your head examined, or you're still drunk on the parade route. How many times did Dotson get mugged? Or I'm going to read this because of the respect you gave with the $5, but I'm not going to comment on it. How many times did Dotson get mugged or drop the ball? How about Quez? All the important ones. How many times did Dotson get mugged or drop the ball? 0. Okay. Thank you very much for the super chat, Mad. Appreciate it. Miles couldn't hold Nolan's jockstrap. Again, there's another guy. Let's see here. Papado, we will not be having conversations with you. Not wasting my time. Okay, 104. Guys, let's get that up by the top of the hour, please. I'd love to see if we get to 150. Okay? That's like saying Robert Horry's better than Charles Barkley because he has rings. This is why Anthony probably agrees with me 35% of the time, if that. But he's a great sports talk guy. Garrett's generational. Nolan is a really good player, no comparisons. Right. This is why Anthony is the quintessential person that I love that watches our show. And by the way, Anthony puts that money in so he grows his show. I appreciate that, Anthony. Thank you very much. Okay? Honestly, you're one of the best guys in here. And you and I, 30%, right? 30%? That's what you and I do? Okay. Washington, do I think they move the chains and make it closer in the NFC East? There's only one player that can do that. It's not Deebo Samuel. It's not him. It's not Max Crosby. It's Myles Garrett. If they land Myles Garrett, it's a different conversation. You land Deebo, you upgraded your number 2 wide receiver spot big time. Can you guys name me the number 2? Hey, James, who's the number 2 wide receiver in Washington? I don't know who he is. Who is he? Now you got 2 dudes. Do you see how that works? Who's the number 2 wide receiver? Okay. Who's the number 2 guy? Who is he? Okay. Name me, who's the guy? Some dude, D. Brown? Guys, I'll ask you this. Who in San Francisco last year had a good year? Name me one player. Fred Warner? Okay. Who else? Caffrey didn't. Purdy didn't. Ayuk didn't. Trent Williams didn't. Kittle didn't. Who else? Bosa didn't. He's 28. He's not the same player he was 3 years ago. We rate Jalen higher on the quarterback list because he has a ring. Okay? So Jalen Hurts is better than Dan Marino in your eyes, right? Okay. I'd sign Bond, Bolton, sign Becton, and then trade 2 firsts and a second, Nolan and Davis for Garrett. It's a little rich. Okay, a first, a second, Nolan, and Jordan Davis. It'd make me, if I'm Cleveland, open my eyes because think about this. Remember something with those draft picks. You're talking about the 32nd pick in the first round. That's not impressive. That's not. Okay? Vic Fangio would take Myles Garrett on the team over Nolan. We'll take Myles Garrett on the team over Nolan because he could do more with him. By the way, I'll go back to what we said. I'll go back to what we said about Nolan Smith. I'm not talking about trading Nolan Smith unless I'm talking Myles Garrett. I have absolutely no interest in that, okay? You're the Super Bowl champions. I'm not doing that. Sills, I hate to say it because of your knowledge. The Eagles won the Super Bowl. Howie watches you even with some things you were wrong about. You're the man. 34. Hey, by the way, being wrong, they proved me wrong because at the beginning of the year, you're even your own defensive coordinator. You had no idea, nor did Vic who Zach Bond was. How many times was Vic asked about his defense in the offseason? I'll let you know how good we are by week 12. Those were his words, not mine. They got better coaching this year. You know what it shows too? On how wrong I was about the coaching? How right I was in 23 about your shitty coaching. Why would you give the keys to two guys who don't know what they're doing? And you've done that now. With Kevin Patullo. You did it again. We'll see. Today, I'm not going to say it because I don't know what he is on March 3rd. Okay? That just shows you how immensely on top of it I was when I told you after week 1 against New England, that team's not as good as you think it is. Why would you give the keys to your defense and offense to people who have never had a play call? Turned out to be true. Last year, you had experienced play callers. And you had way better coaching. And the defense came around quicker. No question. Shit, people have said it numerous times. Never seen anything like it. I've never seen a growth in a football team and a defense like I saw this year. Let's see here. Hit the like button. With a first, third, Davis, and Dotson land Garrett. Get that fucking Dotson guy out of there. I have no interest in that guy. A first, a third, Davis, and maybe another pick. Dude, the only thing that's a sure thing in that deal you got, Blaze, is Davis. Kind of. Kind of. Dot, you guys want to trade bullshit for gold and think that you're, I mean, you know what it shows me too? See what a guy like Blaze here putting Dotson in a trade? How you guys act like Cowboy fans sometimes and overvalue certain dudes on your team. That guy has no value. He only has value in Philly. Let me ask you this, guys. Hey, Anthony, you think if you put Jahan Dotson on the open market, you get a third back for him? Says the only thing we disagree on is Howie. Hurts, AJ, and Trump. We agree on everything else. So about 75% agree, 25% disagree. It's funny you should say that. I had a guy, Tiger, a guy I played with, he posted it on my Facebook. He said the same thing. He goes, Sills, I hate your politics, but I love the shit out of you. And I'm going like, yeah, okay. I'm with you too, Anthony. Never let that get in the way of passion. You and I have the same passion for sports. It comes out in your comments too. Okay? It does. Guys, hit the like button. All right. So I do think Washington's going to be a player in the NFC East. How much? Yet to be determined. The Philadelphia Eagles don't really have to worry about a team in the NFC, in my opinion, unless Garrett lands there. I wouldn't want Garrett in Detroit. I wouldn't I wouldn't want Garrett in Detroit and you lose 3 of your 4 big free agents. Because then there's too many questions. You'll have more question marks going into your – no, wait. If you lose 4 starters, you'll have as many question marks going into this year on defense as you did last year with replacements. Hey, let's just go down a simple list. Who's going to replace Milton Williams, who, by the way, for the record, is better than Jordan Davis? Who replaces Milton? Who replaces him? Dotson would be good with Judy. Better than what they have and cheap for 1 more year. So you think Ojamo, you think he is as good a player as Milton? You're okay with that? I like the player. I do. He's a better player than Jordan Davis. Seals, watch some Tyler Williams. I think that's the Ohio State kid. Last night, his film reminds me of yours. Very explosive after beating his matchup and very good laterally for a D tackle. And he's well coached when he was at Ohio State. Ohio State puts out good front 7 guys. I like the kid too. Derek Harmon, the kid from Oregon. We're going to go over. There's some guys I thought that hit and some guys that I thought that miss. Who's replacing Josh Sweat? Jalix Hunt? Really? Jalix Hunt looks like a fine prospect. It could be some good things there. Again, I don't know. Can he play 900 snaps? How many people, again, watch this. You think you're going to put Jalix Hunt there. You have no idea if he can play 900 snaps. That's a question mark. Hey, you have no idea if Nolan Smith can get through a season without going under the knife. Jack Sawyer to the Eagles, calling it now. How we move. Leon, I didn't like him dicking around at the combines. I thought he dicked around too much. You know, he's waiting for the pro day. He showed up. He did his interview. I don't think he helped himself. Maybe that's why he did that. Because he wants to land in Philly. If you're a guy like Sawyer who's projected to go between 20 and 32, I wouldn't work out either. I want to fall as far as I can in the first round to the Eagles, Kansas City, Washington, something like I want to go to a good team. If I'm not going to go in the top 10 picks or the top 15 picks, I don't want to go in the middle of the draft. That means you're kind of decent. That means you're going to cowboy land. And you know what that means? Do you know what the Dallas Cowboys are? They're the toilet bowl that never flushes. They just keep circling. You know that shit turd that keeps circling and circling and circling and circling and circling and circling. Toilet never goes down. It never flushes. Same old shit in it. You got to get a plunger out. It's the same bullshit. That's the Cowboys. The Cowboys are that shit log that never flushes. They're in that revolving toilet that never goes down. Holy cow. Jesus. We're 7-9, 9-7. We're 12-5. Holy shit. What are you doing in the playoffs? We haven't won, but holy cow. Guess this. I mean, if you think about Jalen Hurts has more postseason wins than the Dallas Cowboys do in 30 years. Do you realize that? Jalen Hurts has more postseason victories as a starting quarterback than Dallas has in 30 years. 30. What is Dallas telling me? Dallas tells me nothing. I mean, Washington's the team. I mean, hey, how many wins this year did Jaden Daniels have? He had what do you have? 2 wild card, the divisional. He went up and beat Detroit. He's 2-1 in the postseason. Shit, in the last 5 years, this guy's got a better record than Dak Prescott. We're going to do Cowboys winners and losers. Do me a favor, guys. Please give me a number on the likes where we are. Xander's going to join us at 3:30. Also, Philly 500 is going to join us at 4:30. I'm not sure if Gary Cobb. I like Sawyer, but he has no bend on the corner. I'm starting to fall out of like with him a little bit. Get to that here in a minute. Okay, so we all agree there's going to be about 3 of the 4 big hitters for the Eagles that are going to be on the free agent market. I would. I totally would. My Eagle post, guys I like, I'm going to do that in a minute. I want to ask you this about Jordan Davis again. Jordan Davis is eligible for a contract extension. I'm not giving him one. However, here's what I would do. I would tell him and his agent, if you perform in 2025 at the end of the season, we'll have a conversation. Do I want to let the player go? No. I don't think he's horrible. I don't think you could play 34% of the plays and give a guy $13 million. You can't. He's not a $13 million player. Now, at the other end of this, agent fires back and says, hey, how do you think Zach Bond's going to play without my boy in there? You want to test that out? Okay. Let's see how different your defense looks when you don't have 700 pounds in the middle. So the agent fires back going, and if you have lesser backers, say Trotter, I mean, that's a problem. So what are you going to do? Do you come to him and say this? Do you go and say, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you a contract here, and I'll give you a 3-year contract, and I'll make this thing more kind of for we both want to land at $8 million. Jordan Davis is not going to get a $20 million, $15 million open market deal. He's just not. He's not that player. He's a 2-down guy. You're not going to pay $15 million for a 2-down player. Hey, Xander, I got your gay-ass Z note. JK, appreciate you, brother. So to me, I would say this to you about Jordan Davis. Do you extend him? Do you extend Jordan Davis? $9.5 for Davis. No way. He's a $7.5 million ball player. Milton Williams is better. Hey, and by the way, why would you let the better player walk out at 25? And keep that dude. Let me tell you this. The Eagles draft a defensive tackle at 32. Davis is out. If I'm Jordan Davis, you better hope they don't draft a defensive tackle at 32 because he's gone. Because you're going to pay that guy at 32 accordingly, being the 32nd pick instead of the 13th pick. So if they take a dude at 32 and it's a D tackle, or they take with their first pick, depending on what they do in the trade, Jordan Davis is gone. Get a 3 first-rounders playing D tackle. It's only 2 spots. We need Bond back and Garrett on the edge. I'm good with Howie sending anyone except Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter is untradeable. Here are your untradeable players. Okay, the quarterback. Malata and Carter. You can have anybody else. These guys are untradeable. But again, that doesn't necessarily mean like Lane and Landon that I'm going to give away those dudes for a bag of Skittles. You'd have to be first rounders. But those 2 guys are just untradeable. They're just untradeable. I mean, but help me out here on this. Why would Howie let the better D tackle walk out the building? He's 25. You drafted him in the 3rd. Is it because you just don't want to pay him? You don't like the kid? I'm not sure why they're allowing that to happen. He's going to get 15, 16, 17 million dollars. Eagles don't want to pay that for a 25-year-old D tackle. You know, the only other D tackle they've really ever paid for that was up there, when I first started covering the Eagles, I think Fletcher was making $16 million. And then they put that, and they started dropping that number down. I think he was the only big-time D tackle that was paid. Deebo to Washington is the equivalent of PG-13 to the Sixers. Paul George to the Sixers? Sure, okay. No, once again, that's a horrible analogy because, once again, Paul George to the Sixers, he was expected to be a superstar. Deebo's not. He's expected to be what the number 2 wide receiver on a team does, especially in the slot, missing the point. He's not a star player like that or being expected to be a star player. That's like a horrible analogy. He's not receiver number 1 in Washington. That's not what they traded him for. Washington didn't trade him to make him the top target. He's going to be the second target in Washington. I mean, the equivalent would be like somebody coming off the bench in Philly. That's what it would be. A rotation guy. The only thing I don't like about it is it's awful expensive. At $17 million. That's pretty expensive to do that. Underrated loss is Oren Burks. He's very solid backup. I agree. Hey, I agree with you. I'm with you. 21, I'm with you here, man. I really liked the player, really showed me a lot throughout the season. Plus, he was a special teams son of a B. And when he got his chance in the Super, I'll tell you what, would you not agree? No, I'm talking 5th round's a good pick here, James. I'm talking about the salary of 7. They picked up the entire $17 million. That's a lot for a 2 wide receiver. That's a lot of money. Shit, Devontae don't make that this year in the way his contract is structured. That's a lot of dough. Okay, hey, I think him being in the 2-hole is a perfect role for him. As a matter of fact, James, I don't know why more teams don't do this. These top flight guys who are number 1 wide receivers, like Devontae Adams, there's a conversation that the Jets may cut him. Okay, we're now starting to get into that conversation. Is that guy still a 1? Am I going to give Devontae Adams $30 million if he gets whacked? Or am I going to pick that contract up? I don't know. He might be floating in that room starting to be a 2 wide receiver. I'll tell you who's already done that, Stephon Diggs. He's not wide receiver 1. It was Nico Collins down in Houston. Okay? Jimmy Johnson just retired from Fox. Wow, GOAT. Yeah, I saw that. It's going to kind of wait, but Leon, thank you very much for the super. Supers go to the top. Give me a total on the likes. I'll make this comment to you about Jimmy. Coach Johnson retiring. Every single thing he did it with excellence. Hall of Famer in college and in the pros, won national championships as a player, a coach, in both college and pro. There's nothing he did that he wasn't a champion at. Nothing. Every level that Coach was, he was a champion, and he won Emmy Awards for that great show that they have on Fox. That pregame show gets insane numbers. And I was proud to be coached by him, his friend. I was coached by one of the greatest coaches in pro and college football history. Bar none. Name me a coach that had the same success he did on both levels. Like, not even Nick Saban did that. Nick Saban didn't have the success that Jimmy had. Nick had all the national titles. Jimmy had Super Bowls, national titles, and as a player. Senor goes, get Jimmy on the show. For what? A 12th time? Guys, do me a favor. Hit the like button. Once again, on Davis. I'm not extending him, but I don't really want the player to walk. I don't like the fact. Here, I'll tell you what Clint Hurt thinks of him. Okay? I'll tell you what he thinks. There's now being reports that are going around now that Zach Bond's going to hit the open market. Keep it real, Deebo couldn't beat out Jennings or the rookie last year. He's overweight. Washington overpaid. Okay, sure. And you overpaid for Dotson with a third rounder. He's a second wide receiver. He wasn't a number one wideout ever in his career. He was used in jet sweeps. He was used at wideout. He was used as a running back. He's more of a gadget player. He's not a traditional wideout. What are you talking about? He's not the same. When you look at him and you look at the top flight wideouts in the game, the only person that compares to him might be DK Metcalf. Maybe. He's like the Taysom Hill of receivers. He's like a Swiss Army knife. They used him and they got him in space. And personally, I think Cliff Kingsbury will do the same. Cliff's a great play caller. Developer of offenses. Got great respect for him. Eagles wanted him. I mean, by the way, like I said, he's still getting paid Bidwell money. He don't have to take a head coaching job. He's got 2 more years, this year and another, last year, next year. You understand that? He's got $8 million coming from the Arizona Cardinals. That guy makes more money than Nick Sirianni does as a head coach. Think of that. Makes more money than Nick. In Washington, shit, he might make more money than Dan Quinn. Okay? Do me a favor, hit the like button. So Jordan Davis, let me finish up on Jordan here. Bottom of the hour, we're going to get Xander on, and then Philly 500 will join us at 4:30. By the way, Jeff Fisher tomorrow, the former defensive coordinator of Gang Green, head coach of the Titans, Rams, commissioner of the Arena League now. We'll catch up with Coach and talk some ball with him. Coach that man behind me, by the way, Jerome Brown and Reggie White in Philadelphia. Awesome mind when it comes to football. So we'll talk to Coach Fisher tomorrow. Please hit the like button. I don't want Jordan a walk, but I'm not going to overpay for him. And I might just draft a defensive tackle to hedge my bets. Okay, I just might. So I think 2025 is his due year. Of all the Georgia guys, he's the only guy that never lived up to his. Well, quite frankly, Nolan Smith hasn't lived up to the 30th pick. He's showing signs he could be. N'Kobe still can't stay healthy. Carter's sensational. And Jordan Davis is underachieved. That's how I see it. I mean, you can have your Eagle rose-colored glasses on, but remember, Nolan so far is the 30th pick in the draft, right? Has he lived up to that? No. Dean can't stay healthy. You confident he'll ever be a healthy linebacker? I'm not. He's never been. You may be drafting a linebacker in this coming draft. Okay, now look. Dean can play. Nolan can play. This is a health issue we're talking here. Who's Ringo? Oh, that kid Keely Ringo? Whatever. We'll see. Hey, I won't leave this past Vic. Vic seemingly could turn chicken shit into chicken soup. So I believe he can. This guy can coach a tadpole out of a pond the way he coaches. So, I mean, we'll see what he does, man. I mean, look, there were great player development last year by him. Great player development. Look at this guy. Jordan Davis, Pickett, Dotson of first in 2026. There was 4 seconds I just wasted of my life. Sills, the chip, man, got it out of here with all this BS. What BS are we talking about? What did I say that's not true? Jordan Davis, his contract is up. Are you re-signing him? All your guys are going on the open market. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Ken. What BS? How about this, Sue? How about trying to read the room? How about trying to read the room? I'm talking about the Eagle room. I'll go back to give all you guys and Sue a reach around. I do believe you have the right guy in the building. I think Howie can make it happen. He has shown. Okay? He has. He has shown he can do this. Vic has shown he can coach anybody. Now, what is that going to look like? Okay? So far, Slay's gone. At least off the books. Do I think Darius Slay, let me see if my friend Robert Bailey contacted me back. They haven't shut the door on potentially coming back to Philadelphia. That's a true thing. But Slay at $10 million, that's $2 million is not worth enough of a savings for me to bring him back on a contract at 8. I want 6.5, 7. I might feel frosty to give him 7. Dude, 8, 9, 10, $5 million savings on re-signing him. That's a good deal. It's 4-3 now that you cut him. You bring him back on 12. What's the point? Or 10. What's the point? Here's the deal. Do I think he clears waivers? Nobody's signing that contract for a 34-year-old corner. He's going to clear. Here's the teams that I think will be up to try to get him. I don't think Kansas City would make a play for that. I think Detroit would. Washington might. By the way, played in Washington, he wouldn't have to move that far. Could probably keep his kids in school. Would the Giants do that? I doubt it. Remember, here's what I would say. What if Baltimore gives him money? Shit, he could just keep right where he's living. He doesn't have to move. He could basically get a condo and his kids can stay in school. But you're 34. That's a factor. You don't want to move. You don't want to go to Detroit, 34. Depending on what the money is, I get it. But Baltimore, Washington, in my opinion, I doubt New York because it's a non-contender. No, I don't think New England, even with the money. This is a guy who's going to sign a one-year deal to play one more season, and he's going to call it a career, and he wants to go to a contender. Why? He just won a Super Bowl. You think he wants to go play in New England or travel back to Detroit? I pull your kids out of school and shit. That's not where it's at. I think the Ravens, I'll tell you why. Rosenhaus has a great relationship with DaCosta in Baltimore and with Ozzie. So that is more of a thing that I could see him playing in Baltimore. And, you know, Baltimore has some money where they could pay him. But Baltimore, Washington, in my opinion, would be the top choices outside of Philly. I think it's a three-headed monster. I think it's Philly first, Washington second, and then Baltimore. Why? I'm not picking my family up and moving them across the country to play in San Francisco. Okay? That's Danny, that's not the official jersey because they don't have the names on the back of the jersey. Barb, I'll tell you what that jersey is. If I turned it around, there's a pin. That's Robustelli's induction into the Ring of Honor of the New York Giants. True, they didn't have the names on the back, but they put it on the back. There's a pin on the front of that has his induction into the Ring of Honor for the New York Giants. It's the actual jersey that was willed to me by the New York Giants and Wellington Mara. That was willed to me by the Robustelli family. So, yes, that's the jersey that they hung in the Hall of Fame at the old place at the Meadowlands. So that's why, yeah, you're right. The jersey names aren't on the back of the original Giant names, aren't on that. But, yes, but that's what that jersey is. So it means a lot to me. I got to still put Leroy's up yet. Appreciate that, guys. Thank you guys a lot. Please hit the like button. Give me a total on where we are with the likes. By the way, I want to make it clear on Jordan. I don't really want that dude to walk out the building. Do I think Jordan Davis had – what impact do I think he had? Here, let's do this to you guys. I like that 1 year, $8 million. Marcus? I like that. 162. Thank you, M. Reyes. I like that. How much of an impact do you think, percentage-wise, that Jordan Davis had on that defense being the number one ranked defense this year? I just wrote down for me. How much do you think? Now we're getting better. I think Jordan Davis had a 70%, 65 to 70% impact on the defense when he was in. That's why it's a tough call for me here. Not just run stopping, Sydney. The linebackers had career years, even Oren Burks, N'Kobe D. Do you think there's any coincidence? The three linebackers that played for you this year had career years, and one of them had arguably the greatest linebacker year in the history of the Eagles. How could all three guys play that good? Is it Vic? Probably. Is it the players in front of them? Sure. It's more the players in front of them than Vic. I think it's the coaching. The scheme. Sure. That's why I don't really want to get off the kid. But not paying $13 million. If you don't pick the fifth year up, and here's the gamble, that guy plays his ass off. What if he gets 7 sacks? You won't be able to pay him. So do you go with him with something that right now you can get the player at a cheaper rate? Do you take the fifth year and do a Devontae deal? Hey, listen, you're a 2-down player. We'll give you 8, 8, and 8 with incentives. And in the third year, if you're killing it, we'll restructure. He's a young kid. What you don't want is, you don't want guys getting, like Zach Bond's a nightmare. You pay the guy $3.5 million and he plays like he's worth 20. Even as good as that sounds for your organization, that how good you did, re-signing that guy makes it. Hey, every game that guy played after week 12, he made money. That guy made dough every game. Every game he made money. It's a big number. 12 million? Come on now. We're going here. Once again, I want to circle back on one thing I said about Samuel, and I want to make sure you guys are following me on this with Deebo. Is this guy the same player he was 3 years ago? Nope. Absolutely not. He's had a lot of wear and tear on his body. Playing the way he's played, he's a physical player every time he's on the field. He brings your team a physicality. What's his role in Washington? He's not the main guy. He's the number 2 dude. Your receivers now become Terry McLaurin and Deebo. You couldn't even name me the fucking wideout a year ago that Jaden Daniels got to the NFC Championship game with. What was his name? Something Brown? Who? You had a who in there. Who? You could have put anybody in there. Now you got a guy who you can move around. By the way, the wide receiver that you guys cut a year ago had a better season than Dotson. So those are your 3 dudes moving forward. Not awful. You upgraded the core. Terry McLaurin is the guy. Deebo Samuel's not the guy. Last 2 years in Sanford, and I'll say it one more time to you about him. Name me one 49er that had a great year a year ago. Fred Warner, and that is it. Bosa, McCaffrey, Purdy, Ayuk, Williams, Hufanga. All of them had horrible years. All of them. The coach. Entire organization. It's not an excuse. I don't think he's the same guy. Okay? And the other news is Slay. I don't believe they've closed the door. I think he'll clear waivers. And I believe, now this is an opinion. I think he's going to either pick Washington, Baltimore, but I do believe he wants to play still in Philly. Could Detroit be in there? Yes. But moving my family at 34 years of age for a one-year deal, unless you're going to retire in Detroit, which from what Robert Bailey's telling me, he's going to retire in Florida. He's not retiring in Detroit. They're moving to Florida. They've already started the process of moving to Florida when he's done. All that plays into it. Hit the like button. Do me a favor, guys. Please hit the like button. The numbers again. 51 catches. 670 for a number 2 guy. And remember something about Samuel. He's not a traditional wideout. He's on jet sweeps. He runs the ball. Was he better 2 years ago? Yes. Yes. Washington needs, does he move the sticks closer to, does that move the sticks closer to Philly for Washington? No. It makes them better, but not enough. Dude, it's going to take a shitload of good players to catch Philly. That ain't one of them. Do you think Slay's a Hall of Famer? Close. Could be, yeah. I think he was nowhere near that when he was in Detroit. Because of the Philly years are going to make that conversation on Slay. Remember something about Stephon Gilmore. Stephon Gilmore is the former Defensive Player of the Year. Has 3 rings. So, or 2 rings. Little different conversation. He's more accomplished. So don't say this about Slay, that he's done it. I don't think he is. He could still be in Philly. And like I said, I spoke to Robert Bailey, who's the number 3 guy at Rosenhaus. That's the agency that reps him. Nothing's off the table. All right. By the way, we'll take a look at the draft or the combines. Let me say this about the combines. The athleticism is impressive. The tape isn't. Did you hear what I said? If you like guys running around in gym shorts, that's a day for you. If you like guys who have game tape, those guys ain't it. Okay, that kid Stewart from A&M, go watch the game film. He gets lost in games. Just because now, there are certain guys that Sales, that guy is just too good an athlete. You're right. You fucking draft that and see what you can do with it. Absolutely. All right. We will get our friend Philly 500 on at 4:30. And I heard the guys having a great conversation today. Guys, I appreciate it. Please do me a favor and hit that like button. And I do like that kid Pierce. I heard those guys talking. John, really great stuff too all day long, you guys. And I love the fact that Xander jumped on the Slay release. So, guys, make sure you check out that show each and every single day, Birds 365. without further ado, the co-host of that show does a great job with John McMullen, our friend Xander Krause. Big Z, how you doing, brother?
What's up, Big Sills? How you living over there, brother?
All good, man. Hook me up on it. What do you think?
Of Slay?
Yeah.
I want him back. I want him back because I don't think the alternative is that much better. Obviously, I understand that you're in a spot here where, look, here's what I said earlier. I think even if the Eagles came into the offseason on February 10th after they won the Super Bowl and Howie met with the front office and he said, we want to bring Slay back. What happened today was necessary anyway because they weren't going to bring him back on that other deal. So this was a necessary thing that was going to happen. I'm not ready to say he's out for good. I would like him back because, I just haven't seen it yet with Keely Ringo and even Isaiah Rodgers on a larger scale. So I'm not saying I'm not confident in those guys, but I'm saying while you have a moment to look at the options, I think Slay is still the better option for a team that's trying to repeat as Super Bowl champion. So I still want Slay back, but we'll see what happens. And look, if somebody comes in and gives him a bag of money, he's earned it. He's entitled to take it. So we'll see what happens, but I don't think this story is over just yet.
I think there's 3 sandboxes: the draft, free agency, and your own. And I feel more comfortable with my own if I'm in this conversation about Slay. And I mean this, like you said, do I want to go in free agency and overpay for a guy to bring a guy in to cover the loss of Slay? I don't really think there's anybody out there that makes me or entices me to want me to do that, to spend any kind of frivolous money. Why would I have cut Slay if I was going to do that? There's not really dudes out there for me to go like this. Well, I'm going to cut Slay and sign this guy from the Chargers. I'm not that interested in that. I'm all right. The only problem we had with Slay last year, and you and I were both right, he was good, but he was hurt. Now, I'll take that, okay, at a reduced salary. I don't like the 12, okay?
12's too steep.
Yeah, to me, Xander, I heard you say 10. I think that's high.
I think 8. 8 would be my max.
8 makes me feel good that Howie would land on a 1-year, $8 million deal. Plus, could I have maybe gotten him at 7? Probably. But because he was such a great player since I made the trade and he still got juice in the tank, I'm doing the 8. And I think that because I would say this, Darius, where are you getting $8 million in the open market for a 34-year-old corner? New England? Sure.
Yeah, and here's the other thing.
Go to shitty teams? You want to retire in New England?
Even if he gets 10 mil, like you're talking about a lot of uprooting on someone's life. And
no doubt.
Taxes, depending on where you sign. Like sometimes it all equals out to be the same freaking thing over the course of the span. So it could be interesting to see. The one other thing I would say about Slay is I value that older presence more than other people I think do. And I get it. It's a young man's game. You got to get younger, but we got younger. Like now that you got younger, you got the young guys in the room. I value the older guy to come in there and teach them. Is it any coincidence, Sills, that the two draft picks that we drafted in the secondary in the first and second round last year both had really unbelievable rookie seasons and were major contributors on a Super Bowl team, both having said all throughout the year, we've learned so much from Slay, and Slay has talked about how he feels like he should be teaching the young guys. I'm not saying it's the only reason. I'm not taking away from what those guys are, but is it a coincidence that 2 guys came into this team as rookies and played as well as they did with a guy who might be Canton bound, maybe not, but close in Slay was helping him out? I mean, I value that. I think that's a big thing. So I'd welcome Slay back. But look, it does take both sides to tango, so we'll see how it goes.
You think Vic wants him back?
I think Vic wants him back. I think Vic is a guy who values experience because he's experienced. He wants to talk to a guy that knows everything about the game of football, everything about defenses, has seen everything. I mean, maybe Vic wouldn't want him as his number 1 starter, but I know Vic Fangio would value what his presence means to that locker room.
Remember this, dude. He took out Bryce Huff and put a 34-year-old edge rusher in.
Yeah.
Because that guy was going to be productive and he can trust him. What's the difference between Brandon Graham playing edge and Slay playing corner at the same age? I don't think there's any difference in his mentality
Right.
on how he sees the game. That's why he said he's like a fine Dago wine. He just keeps getting better.
Well, it's another misconception, I think, Sills, when stuff like this happens is I think there is a general misconception that younger is always better. Younger is not always better. Like I saw someone say, well, you haven't seen Keely and Isaiah play. How could you know they're not good? And I'm like, that's my point. Like you made my point. I know I haven't seen them play. That's why I don't want to go into the season with them as my only option, because I'm not putting another Super Bowl window season up in the hands of, with all due respect, Keely Ringo and Isaiah. I just don't feel better about that. I don't feel better about that. So that's why I want Slay back. But I get it. Business is business. And sometimes you draft guys and you need them to eventually step up. Maybe that's what's happening with Keely Ringo. I wouldn't feel too great. Now, if that's what it ends up being, I'm going to have confidence in those guys because Vic Fangio already proved it last year in terms of making young guys who don't have a lot of experience play well. But I'd feel a lot better if Slay was in that room.
Here's where I'm at here with this also. He has proven to you he's going to drop a rookie corner, play him and start him, and he's going to play that guy. If Keely Ringo and Isaiah, by the way, Rodgers, I thought was a good swing corner last year for the Eagles.
Right.
I thought he did a nice job in that.
I did too, but as a swing corner, you like him in 21 games?
No.
I don't either.
But I surely don't like if Keely Ringo couldn't get on the field. Vic's telling you he's not ready to get on the field, or he would have played him.
100%.
He started a fucking rookie at corner 2. I mean, he had no. By the way, after the bye, he had no problem taking a very experienced Avonte Maddox out of that nickel slot and then dropping Cooper DeJean in. So if people are going, well, you got to see the young guys playing. If the young guy couldn't get on the field, that's because the young guy wasn't good enough to get on the field. One thing Vic Fangio has shown last year, Bryce Huff he's the poster child for it. You know what it is? If you're good, you're going to play. If you're not, you're not. I don't care if you got 14 years or 4 minutes. This is who I play. And that's why they were the number 1 defense in the league, because he's got the mentality. And I'm going to tell you, now I know why Dolphin guys were so fucking pissed off at him with that attitude. Do you understand when a coordinator has that mentality? You don't get to start and play because you have tenure and you have the resume. He starts you because you work hard in practice, you're coachable, you listen, and you're productive. All of that. The guys in Miami didn't want to do any of that. I've been on so many teams where guys who have 14 years in the league, they just assume that you have to give them that role and that chair in the room. Vic doesn't look at it. Hey, Bryce, you signed an $18 million deal? Fuck, I'm going to play the guy over here that is guy making $2.5 million. I'm playing him. I'll play the third rounder before I play you. That's a mentality of what won for you last year. That is good coaching.
Yeah, and if Vic has proven that time and time again, like that's why you bring up a good point about Ringo. Like, if you trust Vic to play all the right guys at all the other positions, then trust him on Keely Ringo too. Keely wasn't ready, So look, this is another one of those complex issues, and this is where I wonder what Howie's mentality is, because I think when you look at the 22 season and you look at even the Super Bowl we won in 17, 18 off season, Howie made mistakes after those years, right? Of maybe trying to keep people too long in terms of that 2018 team.
Yes, sir.
22, I think maybe, I don't know what he would have looked at there.
Too many free agents in 22.
Right, free agents in 22. So I don't know, like, how much is that going to affect what he does? Now, I think every situation is different and every player is different, but I do wonder if he looks at specifically that 2017 Super Bowl team and is like, hey, we kept some guys too long there because we thought the window was open. Right. I think this Slay situation is slightly different because you've already recouped the young talent you need in terms of Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. But every situation's different, and we'll see what Howie does. But I do wonder what he thinks about, learning from those mistakes from those previous years.
Let me go to Deebo here. Dude, I wrote this down about him. Okay. The number is high, 17 million. Is he the same player he was 2.5 years? No. Now, what role is he going into? He's not a number one. He's the number two, at times maybe even going to be a number three because of the way they're going to use him. That's the way San Francisco used him. Dude, the top targets in San Francisco the last 3 years have been Ayuk, McCaffrey, and Kittle. And he's been kind of like the Swiss Army knife kind of guy. Jet sweeps, running the ball in the slot, on the perimeter. That's how they used him. A year ago, did anybody in San Francisco outside of Fred Warner play well? Hufanga, but nobody did. Okay? No excuses. I'm not saying that. He's not the same player. But now you've got Terry McLaurin and him. That improves your wide receiving core. Now, does that move the sticks in any way to make people go, hey, now look, they're starting to get that's not a game-changing move. It makes you better. It doesn't make you a Super Bowl team. But the more you accumulate guys like this, and then you add Garrett. So if you add Garrett, Becton, and you add Deebo Samuel, now you're talking about a collection of dudes like how we did a year ago, adding all those free agents, Becton, Bond, Barkley. Bro, you start adding a group of them dudes.
Yeah.
That's how I'm looking at that.
I think you make good points. I think you make good points. Here's what I'd say, all right? And I don't agree with you on everything, but I do think you make good points when you talk about the collective that's going to happen. This isn't the only move that they're going to make. It's the collective that you're going to talk about. Here's where, objectively speaking, I like this move if I'm a Commander fan, all right? I like that it's a one-year deal with Deebo because you don't know what the player is going to be. He did have his worst year, basically since coming into the league last year. So you're not committed to the guy long-term. You're going to be able to see him in action before you commit long-term. From a Commander perspective, I like that. Second thought is they have so much cap space, and with a rookie or a quarterback that's playing as well as he is on a rookie contract,
this is 3 years.
This is when you make moves. This is when you pay big money for people. Now, he's not particularly the guy I would have paid, but because of the 1 year, because of only the 5th round pick, I do think it's a good move from that perspective. Where I do not like this move is, where does he help this offense? I saw somebody saying today on national media. He makes it more
versatile and physical.
Well, he's physical, but he's a manufactured touch guy, Sills. He's not a guy that you line up on the outside like Devontae Smith next to Terry and say, I know he's going to get open. He's not that guy.
I believe that Kingsbury's that. Look what he did with Daniels, dude.
But
he's going to get him open.
Sills, Shanahan was talked about as one of the best play callers, play designers in the NFL.
I think it was an injury a year ago with him. I don't think it was.
I'm just saying, I don't think everybody's talking like Kingsbury's an upgrade from his play caller.
I didn't say upgrade. I said, but I do. I'll tell you what he did do. He made Jaden Daniels one of the top quarterbacks in the league.
That's
last
fair.
year.
That's fair. I'm not saying it's a downgrade.
I can't even name the number 2 wideout in Washington.
I can't either. I think it was Olamide Zacchaeus.
Yeah, or some dude named Brown. I mean, I don't know.
De'Ami Brown. He's fumbled versus us.
Like I said, right. You have to put him in situations, and you have to find openings for him because he's not the greatest route runner. Well, whether he was in San Francisco with Kyle or whether he's going to be with, I'll tell you this: who do you think is a better quarterback? Jaden Daniels or Brock Purdy?
Yeah, that's not even close. Just Jaden Daniels. So there's a good point there. I just wonder where Deebo fits in this equation. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying with the gadgety type player, what does that fit with? How does that fit with, let's be real, a dual threat quarterbacks are kind of gadgety quarterbacks, right? Where they have different ways about things. They're not traditional drop back guys. So I'm curious to see how it fits. I think it's good in terms of they didn't really, let's be real. I know everybody talking about the big money, but they gave up a 5th round pick for a 1-year rental in Deebo Samuel. It's pretty low risk.
17. 17's awful high for a number 2. I mean, it's $6 million less than the franchise tag. That's a lot.
But still, think about it. We had a stacked roster this year, and we still had $10 million cap room. Like every team's going to have a little bit of cap room. Like I don't think it's not every team, but like a lot of times, and they have so much cap room. This isn't going to stop them from another move. I mean, nothing like that. They don't have a huge extension they have to make this offseason, so they're in a pretty good spot finance wise. So I don't think it's a bad deal from that perspective. But again, trying to be objective and viewing it from a Commander perspective. I'm trying to chase the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't view Deebo Samuel as the answer to offensively to what I need. In fact, I would have looked at this team and said, I need another great target that he can throw the ball to.
Okay. But by the way, we're going to read all your supers, I promise. But
like
here,
Deebo is not that.
But wait, like I said, though, I think if you want to give Howie Roseman time to build your offseason, I think you have to do the same thing to Adam Peters and the collective group. Yes. I'll tell you this, like I said, Deebo, Myles Garrett, and Mekhi Becton does make you better.
Yep, I agree.
And I think we're sitting here going in out of the combines the first weekend because they made the deal on Saturday for his ass. And people are like, that's not a transformational deal. Well, it is when you add 4 other guys to it. I'll tell you this. You know what? To me, the key is going to be for Washington catching Philadelphia. It's not about your additions unless it's Garrett. It's going to be the subtractions in Philly.
Right.
If you lose, how many of those 5 guys, and I'm going to throw Isaiah in there, or if people want to put Burks as the 5th guy on free agents.
I think Isaiah is better with Slay retiring. Or not retiring.
That was more of a need for sure, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How many of those guys, from what I'm hearing a lot of those guys, maybe as many as 4, are going to be on the open market in 9 days.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. How many do you think are going to be out there in free agency?
Out there, probably. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if all of them were out there, and it wouldn't be a good thing for the Eagles. But, you know, if I had to guess on who was coming back, I'd probably say Bond and maybe Rodgers. I mean, especially if they don't have plans to bring Slay in, they're probably going to have to bring in Rodgers. You could probably get a good deal out of Isaiah Rodgers. I could see him, and I don't see how you would let Bond go.
How about if Green Bay? How about if Green Bay, who's got money? How about if Green Bay comes in? He played in Wisconsin, and Green Bay comes in and offers him a 3-year contract to go home and play in Wisconsin, where he's from.
Yeah, look, that's not out. I'm just saying from an organizational standpoint. And Charlie says Becton. I want Becton to be back. I think Becton has a good chance.
I want them all back.
Well, I do too. And I really don't want them all. I want Becton. I want Bond. That's who I want the most. I want Bond the most. But I look at the Bond deal and I'm like, I get it, the price, all these things. Will another team give him money? I get it. All right, I get it. It's a tough go. Would you let Jalen Carter walk out of the room?
Fuck no.
Fuck no. Would you let Saquon Barkley walk out of the room? Fuck no. Like, there's certain guys you look at and you're just like, no. I look at Bond after this year having the number 1 defense in the NFL, being such a big part of the reason that we won a Super Bowl, and I'm like, fuck no. I don't care if it's 20 million, 22 million. He is one of the guys. I don't care. I'm paying him the money. And I don't think it's going to get that high.
I don't think Howie's going to do that. I don't think Howie's going to do that.
They're not. They're not going to go above 15 million. But I'm just saying, I don't see how you would let Bond walk. How? Why? That's what bad teams do, though, Sills.
Yes, you're right. You're right. But here then, why in the world would you let your best down lineman, defensive tackle, Milton Williams, at 25 walk out the building, and your people are talking about extensions with Jordan Davis? Jordan Davis is not a better player.
I know, but Jordan Davis is going to cost 10 mil. Milton's 25. And let's be real, I like Milton Williams.
I don't think he's getting 25.
Wait a second, though. You look at what people are paid across the NFL. You look at Milton Williams and you say that's a $25 million guy. No. And I say this with respect to Milton Williams, and I hope he gets his bag of money. You look at Milton Williams as a $25 million guy?
No way.
I don't.
Shit, I don't see him as a $20 million guy.
That's my point. And that's where other teams are going to come in.
But I don't see Jordan Davis as a $13 million guy either.
I can stomach the thought of 12 with 2 extra years and the cap hits lessened on Jordan Davis than I can 25 on Milton Williams. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but
it's double.
Like Jordan at 12, all right, it is what it is, you know.
You're biting the bit on Jordan, right?
Bond, I'm ready to give some money to, man. I think Bond's earned it.
So you're going to bite
Jalen Carter at the front. If you have Zach Bond in the middle, you have Quinyon and Cooper in the secondary, and you have your safeties already under contract. Like, you're starting to see the defense come into shape. And you're like, okay, we got each level of the defense somewhat under control. Let's fill in the blanks with some free agents, some draft picks, some other selections, some cheaper guys. Now you're formulating. But if you're going to let Bond go, dude, we're going to be in no man's land talking about let's just
No,
play it
wait,
out. Okay, Zach Bond signs with the Green Bay Packers on March 12th. Who the fuck are the Eagles linebackers in September?
Wait a minute. You're the champions. I'm giving you the benefit that he's going to, with Vic, make this right. Because, listen, his record the last 4 to 7 years shows he has. I wouldn't get sold on names on the back of the jersey as you are, Xander. I'd be looking at second, third, and fourth plans here where I have an option in case something goes awry here. And like you said, on the 9 days, Bond gets out there and there's a $17 million deal offered by the Packers or the Rams. Because you know what the number one thing in free agency is going to be is weakening the Rams. It's weakening the Eagles. You know how you weaken the Eagles? Get that defense off their heels.
Yeah, well, maybe I am over. Maybe
You're
I'm
not wrong.
Maybe I'm too high on Zach Bond though. Because look, I hear what you're saying. Where don't look at the name on the back. But as much as you can say that, you know, and 90% of players that's going to be true for. There's certain players like you don't say that about Reggie White, and I'm not saying Bond is that. I'm just saying there's always going to be certain players on any defense that you look at, and you're like, okay, that's one of the guys. Everybody else, you're right. Don't fall in love with the names in the back. Most of them are replaceable. Keep it young. Keep it organizational friendly, and keep building your team. I think Bond was so good last year. I wouldn't let him walk. I think he's Jalen Carter levels of good in terms of impact on the Eagles defense. I wouldn't let the guy go. I know. I have a heart.
28,
where are we going to be?
28 years old, and he did this one time in his career. That's what Howie's looking at.
I know, but man, I was rewatching some Eagles tape this weekend, which might sound crazy.
I think it's because you know what it does? It cements your takes on the guys you're talking about.
Right, and I was rewatching the Bond tape. Dude, it felt like every one of those defensive turnovers he was a part. Dude, I was looking at the playoff turnovers. The defense had 11 or 12 turnovers in the playoffs. It felt like 5, 6, 7 of them were because of Zach Bond. Like every play that the defense made this year that made them the number one defense, I felt like Zach Bond was freaking involved. So I'm just having a hard time picturing moving on from him and then picturing what the alternatives are. Like if you're talking about an offseason where there's linebackers everywhere, the draft is filled with linebackers, and it's one of those, okay, maybe we can talk about it. But who's your alternative? So let's zoom ahead 9 days right now. It's March 12th, and we're on the show doing that like we are right now, and the Packers just signed Zach Bond. All right, where are we? Nakobe Dean coming off a bad injury, and who?
Now you got to overpay for Nick Bolton, or you have to draft at 32 the Bama kid.
They're not going to do that.
Okay, well then guess what? You lose. You lose that free agent.
Bro, give me Zach Bond. Just give me if you let everybody else walk, give me Zach Bond. Because we need some stability on the number one overall defense. If you're going to let that guy walk and then expect Vic Fangio to turn chicken scratch into chicken soup again and make the number one overall defense, that's just, you're not playing the odds right. I mean, come on, Vic Fangio had a great year. Are we going to ask this guy to be a magician? I mean, come on, you need to give him some guys. This guy played unbelievable. Vic brought it out of him. Give him the damn dude. I don't know. We'll see what they end up doing, but I want Zach Bond for sure. And I don't think that's Homer-ish at all. I think the guy's a great fucking player, and he was a big part of the reason that we have a parade on Broad Street.
Homer-ish. All I remember is saying with John, the guy will never do that again. He'll have the greatest game in the history of games, and he did that in Green Bay. I look back on that. He did that every fucking week.
I know.
Every week he did that.
Yeah, let me show you something real quick. Look at one of our great people made me. One of our great viewers.
Oh, my God, that's phenomenal.
Is that dope or what?
That is absolutely
I just got it right before I came on your show, man.
That's really
Four Reels
great.
Fishing, one of our great viewers, one of our great members sent me that.
I love that, man. By
Isn't
the way,
that cool?
We're going to read all the Super Pump. We're going to get to you here in a minute. All right, let me throw this at you here, Xander. So I'm going to keep asking you this question.
Uh-oh.
All right. How you on that Myles Garrett deal? You know, it's heating up.
It's heating up, and I'm going back. I'm like a freaking seesaw on this thing. I'm not going to lie to everybody. I'm like a seesaw on this bitch. One day I wake up, this morning I woke up and bright and early, baby. I could smell the coffee. I was ready to attack my Monday. The first thing I thought about was, holy shit. Can you imagine Jalen Carter and Myles Garrett on the same defensive line? And man, did that sound good. But I continue to look at this and say, we're the team that won. We're the team that got over the mountaintop. I don't need Myles Garrett. I want Myles Garrett. I don't need Myles Garrett. I think I'd feel better about re-signing Bond, drafting an edge at 32, and recouping the defense that way than maybe I would feel about trading your first pick and going down the Myles Garrett route. Now, again, I told you it wakes me up in the middle of the night. The thought of Garrett and Carter, the thought of Zach Bond playing behind Myles Garrett. But I don't know, man. I don't want to blow this thing up.
It'd be the best duo in football.
It would, but this team has done so many things right. Howie Roseman, to his credit, has built this defense perfectly the last 3 years. I feel like you're throwing a little bit of a wrench in that sucker if you go for Myles Garrett. I'm not saying it won't work. I'm just saying I'm having a hard time doing it because I feel like we won the fucking Super Bowl. We did it with I'm not saying the defense is going to be the same as they were last year, but we're not in a position where we have to climb up. I'm chasing the Chiefs. I'm chasing the ghost of whatever that is. I feel like I don't need to get rid of my whole team for this dude.
You want some breaking news? Greg Schiano just texted me, the head coach of Rutgers. He's a friend of mine. Tyrone Powell. They've requested him to fly into Philly, and they're going to meet with him.
Who?
Linebacker, 6'4.5", 240 pounds. He's kind of like a guy you can use as a unicorn kind of player. He's kind of a guy you could edge rush, play out.
Is this a draft guy, draft prospect?
Yeah, draft pick.
Okay.
His name is Tyrone.
I got him. I'm seeing him, a Rutgers player. I like Rutgers. He's from Vineland. All right. Vineland's not far. Let's go, baby.
6'5", 240 pounds. And there's your guy.
6'5", 252 it has on here. That's a big boy.
Okay, and so what they're doing is they're talking about that's your replacement for Sweat. And by the way, one thing about Greg Schiano, he is a fucking recruiter.
I love that he's from Vineland, but I mean, I don't know who the guy is. I'm not going to lie to you. Tyrone Powell, never heard of him, but
he's going to be in the middle, like somewhere in the 2 and 3.
Let Josh Sweat go. Let Josh Sweat go. Let's get it. That's a guy that I like.
You don't want to pay 24?
No, I don't want to pay 24. And honestly, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a little concerned about that knee as he gets older. I mean, that thing was, how many times have you said on your show, like, hey, when he looks good, man, does that guy look good? But man, he can be streaky. Like, we've seen that forever. Now, he had a good year this year, but the year before,
I thought it was too wavy. I thought he went like this, then he went like this, then he went like this. There was like a seesaw in there a little bit. And I think, you know what happened? After they went from a 4-man rotation to a 3-man, they upped his snaps again. And I thought he went like this and started going down a little bit. And then what happened? Nolan and Jalix Hunt started stepping up, and they started resting him, and his numbers went back up again. I think as he gets older, Xander, I don't think he's an 800 snap guy.
No, he's not.
Okay? I just don't think he's there. All right.
By the way, it smacked me in the face this morning that the Eagles don't really care about Milton Williams leaving. Did you know that Moro Ajomo had more snaps last season than Jordan Davis did?
Yeah, I knew that.
480 or whatever, something in that range to like 420.
Clint likes him more. Wait, no, I'm not going to say that. Clint likes the player a lot. Like I'm going to ask you the question here in a second about Davis. He's like, oh no, those two guys, man, they're my rotators. And I'm like, so the 13th pick is a rotator? And Clint goes like this to me. He goes, hey, I really like those two players. I'm like, okay. And so, we left it at that, but I mean, that didn't shock me.
I'm just saying, I don't think they're worried about Milton.
I don't think they're worried about Jordan either.
Well, I don't either, but look, and here's a great
Let
example.
me ask you:
Right?
Are you giving him an extension?
Extension? That's a different.
13 million.
All right, here's what I would do, because the option's coming up. So he's got till May 2nd to make the option. It's about 2 months. The option's like 2 years, or no, a year at 12.9 million or something like that. Something like that. How about a Devontae Smith type deal? Extend it out, give him 3 years with the 5th-year option being one of those years. Give him 34 million. All right. And you can lower your cap hits that way. You can push out the money, and you're probably only going to look at a $6 to $7 million cap hit a year for a guy. And you can keep consistency on your defensive line. He can grow next to Jalen Carter. And look, he's not a 13th overall pick, great player, but at 13 million, I think he can be a viable piece of this defense.
But I don't want to get off him. I don't want to leave. I don't want him to leave. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. So what do you think of my deal? Is that too rich?
No, you know what that shows me too, if I'm the agent and the player? We want to make this thing work. So let's just do this. We paid you money that you shouldn't have made when you're the 13th pick, and I want to keep you here. I still think he's a first rounder, like bottom where we thought initially around 20 to 25. I thought he was down there. I'm okay with his production. I do think, and I said it, I think he was instrumental in the overall connection of the defense playing and being the number one defense because, dude, he got better at the end of the year. He's just, when he plays 34% of the snaps, though, Xander, I can't go 12. So you're talking more something around 8.
Yeah.
Right? Something like
I'm thinking a little higher than that. But, I mean, what I do think that's good about the Jordan Davis conversation is you're not in a position – like if you're talking about resetting the market, it's like, all right, I'm out. I mean, we're not doing that. But you're talking about continuity with a guy that's been a decent contributor at $10, $11 million. Like in today's NFL, that's not crazy. That's pretty good money. That's pretty cheap, honestly.
And by the time that deal gets matured, the cap's over $300 million.
Yeah, I mean, we're just so people are clear, we're paying Bryce Huff $18 million. I mean, Jordan Davis making 11, 12 million isn't that crazy. It doesn't bother me at all. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see what they do with him, but I will say this defensive tackle conversation coming off of what we just talked about with Moro Ojomo is interesting because it reminds me of the Slay conversation where you feel good about moving on from Milton because you look at Ojomo and you're like, hey, man, he did play 450 and he gave us pretty good snaps. You do have Jordan Davis who gave you 450. You're like, all right, I've seen something from those guys versus that corner conversation. It's like, all right, Keely Ringo, are you ready?
No way.
I don't know if you're ready.
You don't have the backups for that like you do the production.
I don't think so. That's why I want
that Booker kid was even productive.
Yeah, Booker wasn't too bad. I'd have to look up how many snaps he got, but yeah, I think he wasn't too bad either.
Do you agree that if they draft a D tackle at 32, Davis is out?
Yeah, definitely. And you know what else? If they end up doing something with the Davis contract before the draft, picking up that option or extending him or something, I don't know if they would draft DT first. I mean, they would probably go edge. Yeah.
Edge or
offensive lineman.
O-lineman.
O-lineman.
Yeah. O-lineman. Yeah. Somewhere in there. What'd you make of the I tweeted something out. Tom Brady had the worst combines in the history of combines. He's the greatest winner and potentially the greatest player in the history of the game. So don't get all sold in on what you saw this past 3 days when you're talking the combine. So you got to take everything with a grain of salt here. I mean, tape, health, interview, combine. It doesn't go combine first. I do like your point that you made last week, though. There's certain dudes in that combines. When you see a guy run a 4.2 or a 4.4 or a guy's jumping 45 vertical, you got to do something with it.
There's certain athleticism that you're willing to risk on.
You can't walk out of that. You got to try to – because, look, that's what you did in the 3rd round with Jalen Hunt, was it not?
Right, 100%. It's also what we did with Jordan Davis, though.
Yeah. But, again, too, Jordan I got a tough time with him because
He's hard to talk about because 13's way too high, but he's not a trash can player.
He's not.
Yeah, he's not a trash can player. He's just hard to evaluate because people put that 13 and are like, boy, he wasn't worth that. But you're right. If they took him 28, you might look at him and say, hey, he's a pretty good piece.
That's right. It'd be a great pick there. All right. So what do you think they do at 32? Or does it really come up to what happens in the next 9 days?
Well, I think you're gonna learn a lot based on what happens in free agency. I mean, I think our answer today will inevitably be different than what it will be in 9 to 12 days, 10 days because of free agency. I mean, if Bond back, how does that change things? If Sweat or Milton somehow come back, how does that change things? So I think there's a lot of moving parts, but my gut is you're picking at 32. You're not dancing in the top 10 anymore. We had a couple years there. Remember, the draft was like really fun for a couple years because we had like multiple first-round picks. We were like up in the top 10. We had a lot of fun. We had Devontae Smith. We had Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Jordan Day. We had also AJ Brown traded in the first round. We had a lot of shit.
Hey, and that steal 9th pick you had too, where you got up there in the 9th.
Right. I mean, you're picking 32 now, folks. So we're a little different game. So what I think is Howie goes back to what makes him great, what makes this team great, and it's trenches. Now, I think what happens in free agency will dictate what side of the ball. If Mekhi Becton leaves the room,
O-line.
I'm seeing O-line. I think it's going to be O-line. If Mekhi Becton returns.
It's funny you say that, but when I go, if you lose Bond, we're still going edge, and you're not going linebacker with the top.
They're not going to spend a first-round pick on linebacker, dude.
I don't get that.
Even Nakobe Dean in the 3rd round was a huge one for them.
I don't get how you can look at a guy who's the best player. He's better than that kid Campbell from Iowa. And you need a top linebacker. You get him cheap at 32, which is like the top of the second round. And to get this, you're not paying him a lot of money. Instead of paying for a free agent, Nick Bolton, you got a top flight kid in there who's going to start for you right away. But no, we don't do that.
Yeah, but here's the thing. And this is where this is where the analytical nature of the front office would piss someone like you off, but I do at least understand it. Like if you draft an edge rusher at 32, okay, and he plays well, like just take for example Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith is already based on his year last year where he had 6.5 sacks and he had 4.5 in the playoffs. So he had 11 sacks total on the year. He's already worth $15 million on the open market. I think it's more than that, but I mean, based on what he's already done, he's worth $14, $15 million.
I think you're high, man, with that. I think you're high.
Let me just get my point out though. So if you draft an edge rusher and he gives you there's value because it's the 1st round pick, you have the extra option, you're paying him cheap money versus if you draft a linebacker in the 1st round and they play like a first team all pro, they go to the open market, they're still only worth $15 million. So the Eagles look at it from that perspective, and they're like, the best value, the best bang for our buck is taking one of the premium positions in those first couple rounds. Also add in that they're a trench team. They believe that's why they win games. I think they're 100% correct about that. They're gonna bolster the trenches. I don't have an issue with that, but they're just not going to draft Jihad Campbell, bro. They're not. I'm telling you right now. I love the guy. I might be the biggest Jihad Campbell fan in the draft. If I were Howie, I'd probably draft Howie. I'd probably draft him. That's why I'm not Roseman, though. All right. They're not going to draft Jihad Campbell. I don't know what people want me to tell them. He's not going to take it.
I know, I get it. So you're just going to go, if you lose Bond, you're going to overpay for Bolton, right? All right. Or they're going to draft a kid in the 3rd or 2nd round.
You could have said they would have overpaid last year. They didn't. They got a guy on bargain. Will they find another guy on bargain, or will they overpay? I'd probably say
they're going to scour them. They're going to scour the rosters again, looking for your next Zach Bond.
They are, and the chances that they hit it are very slim, which is why we go back to our earlier conversation. Get Zach Bond under contract ASAP. All right.
It's March 3rd. Where is it?
I love your tweet. Yeah. Sileo right now over on his Twitter at Dan Sileo Show is doing every morning. The first thing he wakes up is, all right, we're 9 days from free agency and Zach Bond is still not signed. What's going on, Eagle fans? So he's stirring the pot. He's got his big wooden spoon out. It's the offseason. So, I was talking to Sills off the air, and yeah, maybe I shouldn't share the secrets, but Sileo, he's got like a nice little spoon, like a little wooden spoon that he uses in the regular season. He stirs the stew up a little bit. When the offseason goes, he gets out the big jug with the massive one. It's like Ratatouille, the way he's stirring the soup, baby. So that's Sileo right now in the offseason, stirring everything up.
Oh, man, it's absolutely so much fun. This is why I love this time of the year. Xander, We have our friend Philly 500 at the bottom of the hour. Let's read those supers, my friend. Guys, we'll get to all of them. Start firing them away. We appreciate you guys so much. Thought you guys had a great show this morning, too, by the way.
Thank you, bro. Anthony Wilson checks in. What's up, brother? JD, got to get them sacks up to 5 and 15 tackle for losses. You know, Anthony, to me, it's less about those numbers. And I understand where you're coming from, but I want a little bit more reps. I want Vic to be able to trust him in different personnel.
You want him on third down.
Yeah, like if you can't play him in any 4-man front scenarios, that's not really a guy that's going to be worth it. If he can get up to being a viable player when you have 4-man fronts, then I feel much better about it. But I get what you're saying.
Yep.
You agree with that, Sills?
Oh, completely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
Brian Pump.
He's kind of like a guy who ties the defense together. Right. That's what you want him to be part of here. It's not so much about you didn't draft that guy on his production. He's never been, but the unit's been productive with him in there.
Right. Brian Pumper checks in. Zach made impact plays. TJ Edwards is Casey Matthews compared to Zach Ball. That motherfucker deserves the bag. Yes, he does. Pumper, to this morning, I put Pumper on the Hall of Fame of JAKIB bad takes for this year because basically everything Pumper said this year just didn't pan out. But that's a better one there, Pump. So this is your first one at potentially coming out of number 1 on the Hall of Fame of bad and maybe moving off that list completely, but still a long way to go.
There you go, Pump. Hey, Pump, that's okay. You're with me and Angelo last year, okay? We're in the shit take barrel. We got to work our way out of that thing.
You guys are fucking – you guys are like in quicksand. You can't flying out fast enough, man.
That's why this is so much fun. It's March 3rd. Where's your Zach
Your
Ball
first shitty take of the prediction of the year that Deebo Samuel is a good trade for command. He's going to stink.
No, dude. In the second roll, my friend. There you go, babe. I'll tell you what. Dotson. How you doing?
Hey, he had a big catch in the Super Bowl, man. I'll give up. I would upgrade that third.
You give up a third-round pick for that one play.
I don't give a fuck. That one play helped us win a Lombardi, bitch.
That victory tour, baby.
I'll upgrade to a second rounder. I don't even care anymore. Garrett and Willie. Oh, no, wait. You guys missed Suo's. Suo, watch how we trade up in the 20s for Will Johnson. Oh, I don't see it. You're going to have to package too much.
No, they're going to draft 3 corners in 2 years. Come on.
It's not happening. And the other thing is they don't have the assets to move up this year.
No.
Because the way the board is, that 32 pick is just not valuable enough. Bearded Willie. I'm just confused why we released Slay before Bradbury. Wouldn't Bradbury save us more in cap? I think they're going to end up releasing both, but you're right. I don't know why Slay came
I have no idea why that guy's still on the ball team, man. I have no idea, dude. And he's a $9 million hit. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I think he's going to be a coach eventually. Maybe not here, but I think he's going to be a coach somewhere. I just don't know what they're
either that or he's going to work the Slurpee machine at NovaCare. I don't know what the fuck they're keeping him around for.
Yeah.
I have no idea. By the way, Philly 500 will join us at the bottom of the hour too. Hey, and I got to send you the oh wait, you have the info. Gary Cobb's good at 5:15.
All right, cool. All right, here we go. Mike Cannon. What's up, Mike? Big Sills, how about trading for Trayvon Walker from the Jags at edge to get better? Georgia Bulldog, who the Jags were looking to move off at the trade deadline. I like that move.
But here's the deal: what Jags want back. He's the number 1 overall pick.
Dude, it was a shit pick. They took him over Hutchinson.
I got it. I mean, you think they're going to trade him for who? Dotson and Kenny Flickett?
Dude, don't act like he's getting a Myles Garrett package. The guy's severely underdelivered as the number 1 overall pick.
I did say that's not
right.
But
that's like saying Jordan Davis.
Well, what do you think the Jags are going to give him? They're going to go to a stupid team that's going to give them 2s.
They're not going. They're not getting.
The Eagles are not going to give. Dude, I would not do this. What Brian Burns got? Who's a great player, 2s and 5.
A 2 and a 5, and Brian Burns is better than Trayvon Walker. I'm not sending him to Trayvon Walker.
By the way, his sack totals in 2 years are not awful. They're not awful. They're not awful, dude. Okay, so, I mean, I tell you, they're not awful. But for the first pick, the Jags are going to want something back.
I'm not giving much, but I'll give you something.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not doing that either.
Philly Don, Xander, just wanted to tell you, King James watched the 365 replay. You're so cool. Thank you for showing the card he sent you. Let me show Sills that thing. So King James is one of our youngest JAKIB viewers, Big Sills, and he drew me a JAKIB guy and sent it over to the studio. So I put him in the studio. So big shout out to King James. Thank you, Philly Don. I appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you, man.
That's really
Ryan
cool.
Pumper says, yeah, I'm not worried about the Commandos getting a dominatrix. Buddy is a fruitcake. Get all these humiliation rituals away from my team. All right, Pumper, you're now cooking. You're now cooking, Pump. All of a sudden, this guy is moving himself down the list.
Hey, Pump, you're now on that parade float with Xander and,
yeah, baby.
and
Come
Big
on,
Joe
Pump.
right now. You guys are on that. You guys are on that float going down Broad right now.
Pump, come on back to me, Pumper. Come on, Brian Pumper. Come on back, baby. Here we go.
Oh,
Mike Garul. What's up, Mike? Hope you're doing well, man. Sills, do you see a scenario where we don't land Garrett and all three defensive free agents walk? Is there a good backup plan besides the draft?
Well, yeah, Vic. Here, Mike. Mike, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt because you're the champs and Howie. And so on March 3rd, if you lose Milton and you lose Sweat and you lose Bond, where are you going? Okay. Are you going to go in free agency and sign a Dre Greenlaw or a Nick Bolton? And then you come in and you have, what's the one guy you have to replace? Well, if you get James Pierce at defensive end on the other side of Nolan Smith, I'm fucking good with that.
We're not getting him, though. Also, he's too small. I'm with John on this. I don't want all my edge rushers being undersized. I just don't. We're going to get run on.
Well, how big do you think Sweat is?
Sweat's 6'6", isn't he?
No. He's 6'4", like 255. I mean, that's what that kid is.
He's 6'5", 265.
Okay. I mean, the kid from A&M is as big as that.
Yeah, I don't know.
No,
I like Pierce. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to act like I don't like Pierce.
Listen,
but
I think his combines is going to shoot him up. I totally do.
You know who I'm really liking, bro? I would love it if he became an Eagle. Is Landon Jackson from Arkansas, dude? I like that player, man. I see instinct. He's got size, weight, can bend the edge. He's a good player. I think he's going to be a really good player in the league. We'll see, but I think he's going to be a really good player. Jason 18, what's up, brother? Missed my super from a while ago. I'll get it. What the hell, Jason? What the hell?
A lot of crying.
A lot of crying? Oh, were you crying so Sileo just brushed you off? Is that
No. There's some people in here, though, that were making stupid comments that because Jahan Dotson has a Super Bowl ring, that all of a sudden he's better than Devontae Adams or somebody.
I've located his super chat from the show. Sorry, Jason. That's Sileo. The guy, he's good for a lot of things. Reading and stuff is just not. It's not his MO. I mean, look, he's a great sports talk guy. What do you want from me? I can't ask for too much.
Yeah.
Jason 18 says,
I
said, what if Eagles trade for a sure thing like they did back in 2020? They have always done that under Howie, if you include Darby as well, who maybe is a good cornerback on the trade block. It's a good question. I mean, I don't know. Who's out there?
As a corner?
Yeah. He's saying, like, when we needed a sure thing, he traded for Slay.
I would no.
Remember, we also traded for Bradbury. We also traded for guys like Steven Nelson. We've traded for a bunch of dudes. So I don't know.
This is why I said the number one option is to bring Slay back. It's not to go.
I want Slay back too.
Watch this. If Slay gets on the open market, Slay's the best option.
Yeah. Gabe says, do you think Slay is a Hall of Famer?
Close.
I think he's close.
I think his Eagle years have made it close.
Yeah. Look, here's the one thing. Like, Sileo always says that. We were both right this year. Like, he couldn't really stay on the field, but when he was on the field, he was a damn good player, man. He was a damn good player.
He was in the playoffs.
Dio checking in. Landon Jackson, my favorite too. Oh, good, Dio. I'm happy you redeemed yourself because Sileo opened you up and shredded you a little bit ago. All right? Bearded Willie checks in. I agree. I don't want to lose Bond, but Jihad Campbell screams Vic Fangio gadget defender. I do agree with that. I could see Vic Fangio loving Jihad Campbell. I just don't think they were drafting a linebacker in the first round. I mean, it's not happening.
He's a good player.
I know he is. Shonsky checks in. Last one, and then we will get to Philly 500. Shonsky says, why would Bond, who just won a Super Bowl, want to give us a hometown discount? It's his time to get paid. He's gone. I don't think it's a hometown discount. Just give him what he wants, bro. Somebody's going to pay him 15, 16, 17 million. I'll match it. I'm not letting Zach Bond walk. I'm sorry.
The only guy I've seen do a hometown discount has been Devontae Smith. That's the only guy I've seen give you guys some latitude in the contract and the way he used the option and the way he prorated that contract out for 5.
But in a way, all of them have done it. I mean, not as
because of the bag up front. Yeah,
not as blatantly as Devontae, but like even AJ Brown. Like AJ Brown didn't have to take that deal, and he probably could have waited for them to reset the market and gotten $36 million, but he didn't. He took it at 32. And
does St. Brown still make more than him?
I think St. Brown's the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I mean, come on, I like Amon-Ra St. Brown, but
he's not AJ Brown.
He's not AJ Brown.
No.
I mean,
no.
Yeah, 4-year, 120. So he got $30 million.
Okay, so
AJ. Who beat him? I think CD Lamb got 35.
Yeah, and I think Chase did too.
Yeah, Chase is going to get
Yeah.
But, all right, that's all the super. Oh, one couple more. Zidler in rare form. Yo, flexing. Don't play with me, Flex. I'll come for you, bro. You're not safe, Flex. Sileo says, I like Aluafa, mate.
Yeah, the kid from South Carolina.
Braden Swinson. Yeah, I like him too. Hard name to say, but.
Yeah, the kid from South Carolina, the DB, I think he's talking about.
All right, make sure you do your live reach because Krause's on my ass.
Hey, do me a favor. Listen, hey, Philly 500, I got to do this here. Xander, I'm not going to take a commercial break. I'm just going to do a quick one for Morgan, okay?
All right,
so we'll do that, and we'll come right back. So, hey, 5 seconds here. So, Xander, great stuff.
All right,
we'll
see
get
everybody.
you tomorrow morning. All right, man. Hey, don't forget our great friends at Morgan & Morgan. This is the #1 law firm in the country. It's the #1 injury law firm in America with over $20 billion in recoveries for clients. This is what makes Morgan & Morgan the #1 law office in the country. They are there for you. Ultima and John Morgan have built this firm up to protect families around the country. I told you about the family in PA that initially was offered $650K from an insurance company. They ended up getting $26 million. In Florida, an insurance company came in and appraised it at $350K. No way. They got $12 million. Listen, if you're ever injured, do me a favor. Check out my great friends at Morgan & Morgan. For more information, go forthepeople.com/bigsills or #529. That's forthepeople.com/bigsills or #529. And do me a favor. You tell them Big Sill sent you.
This is Eric. When he got injured in a car accident, he called Morgan & Morgan. He not only gets a lawyer, he gets trial lawyers like Sam and Jessica who are in it to win it. He gets his own investigators with briefcases, leather ones. And if you ever have questions, our customer service folks keep things rolling. Injured? We're your army. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Big Sills here. Do me a favor, guys. Please hit the like button. Gary Cobb will join us at 5:15 tomorrow. The former defensive coordinator of Gang Green, Jeff Fisher, and the former head coach of the Rams, the Titans, and now is the commissioner of the Arena League. We're going to talk some ball with our friend. That'll be tomorrow at 3:30 Eastern time. Without further ado, the Mag Streamer, he was going all throughout the combines. I love it. Here's a guy that said, look at that guy from North Dakota State. Look at him running around in shorts. That guy is outstanding. Without further ado, our good friend, the legendary Philly 500 joins us now here.
The champ is here, baby. The champ is here. That's right. Watching the combine. I'm telling you, baby. I feel great. I mean, how could I not feel great? I'm Super Bowl champion, and I got a team that's about to go back. Just a few moves, and we're set. We're good to go.
All right, let's go in order here. What'd you make of the Slay release today? Now, just to give you a little insight, I talked to some folks over at Rosenhaus's place, and Robert Bailey's telling me, he was the #3 guy there, that they have not closed the door on him not coming back. And I think it's a 3-headed race here to get Slay back. I think it's Washington, I think it's Baltimore, and I think it's Philly. And I think Philly's #1. You're 34 years old. You're not uprooting your family to go play for some shitty team like New England. You're not looking to go to a rebuild. You're looking to go to a place that you want to finish your career at. So, again, is there a number that you'd feel comfortable with? Because if he gets on the open market and you got to go find a corner, he is the #1 option. What would you do here with Darius Slay?
I like Slay, and if I could bring him at a good price, I'd bring him back. But otherwise, hey, it was a great career. Thank you for what you've done, but I'll see you later. You know what? I'll find somebody else, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just, I'm not going to overspend on him. A guy who's going to play one more year and then retire, who just was well fed, just won a Super Bowl. I probably would try to go a different direction, but I'm open to it if he's willing to come back from the right price. I'm not opposed to it, but I don't feel like I have to do it. I definitely don't. I feel like you could bring back Isaiah Rodgers and let him and Ringo compete. I'm open to that. And look, I know, you guys were mentioning it earlier. I've been talking about for the last few days. I like Asante Samuel Jr. And if you're willing to go pay for him, he's 25 years old, 25, 26. That as a second, corner, that would be a great option. Now, my personal thought is that they're probably going to kick Cooper DeJean outside, which I don't like that idea. I don't want them to do that, but I wonder if they will.
Okay, well, then that affects your nickel corner. Who are you putting in there?
It does. Well, I think it's interesting that they spent a lot of their combine talking to a lot of safeties.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Safeties that could play the nickel and safety position. I wonder if they're thinking, and it's speculation, are they thinking, look, we got a guy in the draft last year who shut down the slot. We could do that again, throw him outside, and we're good to go. I mean, they could be thinking that, so I wonder if that's how they're going to approach it. I would like Cooper DeJean to stay and play inside one more year at least. But I understand he wants to go outside at some point because he wants to get the big money. Yep. The big money's on the outside.
Well, let's move on to this one then. Here was my spin on the Deebo Samuel. Now, look, does that move the needle for DC and for the Redskins that makes it closer to Eagles? No, but what it does do is this. Just like last year, the Barkley move wasn't going to move the needle. The Barkley, Bond, Becton free agent deal, that won the Super Bowl. Those three guys were instrumental because you did it as a group.
What do you mean Barkley wasn't going to move the needle?
Not by himself. If you didn't have Becton
that needle was gigantic.
Wait, you think if you didn't have Bond playing linebacker for you, you think you're the same unit?
I'm not saying you're as good.
Or if you're Becton, you're the same. Wait,
I still think Barkley throws up 2,000 yards.
No, I don't either.
I definitely do. I do. I think Barkley puts.
Oh, so if you don't have Becton in there,
I think
you don't have Bond on your team, you think Barkley was the only? You think Barkley would have won you a Super Bowl?
No, I think Barkley's the reason why. I think Barkley gets 2,000 yards. I think for what he's done for the offense, he moved the needle a lot. Now, if you want to say were they complete? Of course, Bond and Becton come into play, but I think the Barkley signing was just by itself. I thought it was a gigantic signing.
Yeah, but the Super Bowl was won with the three of them guys.
Yeah, of course.
This is where I'm going with Washington here. If Washington signs Garrett, Bond, they sign Garrett, Bond, and Deebo. Now you're talking about. Well, he's going to be a free agent in 9 days.
They better not touch him, boy. It's going to be bad.
Hey, well then here, let me go here. How many of those top 5 guys, and I'm going to throw Isaiah Rodgers in there. How many of those top 5 guys in 9 days do you think get on the open market?
I think all but one.
Bond.
I think Bond stays. I believe that the Eagles are going to find a way to get him done.
Okay, so you're saying this week there's going to be a contract on the table for him from Philly.
I believe that they're going to get something done by the time free agency starts. I do. I think so.
What are you looking at? And do you think the Eagles will have a ceiling on what they're willing to spend?
Yeah, I'm sure that they have a ceiling. I don't know what the ceiling is, but I think the Eagles and Howie recognize that sometimes you can't just say, well, we pay a position this much, we pay a position that much. You have to be willing to adjust. When you have a guy, you're talking about defensive player of the year type guy. I don't think the Eagles are going to let that go. And if you listen to Howie's press conference, I kind of got the impression from that press conference that just because Bond was an off-the-ball linebacker that they haven't paid a lot of money to in the past had no bearing on whether or not that they were going to sign him, that they looked at him as, a separate type thing.
Okay, let me ask you this. How do you know that Zach Bond's not a James Bradbury? You signed an all-pro corner, and you gave him $11.5 million annually, plus a gigantic number to play a tougher position than linebacker, play corner. You gave him a 3-year contract that now it's an anchor around that team's cap a little bit with the money. I don't even know why he's still on the team, Philly. I have no idea why he's still there. But are you concerned about a 28-year-old kid that has only done this one time in his career, that you're going to give him a 3-year contract that may be north of $15 million?
No, I'm personally not worried about it. And the reason why is it's a different position. This is a position historically where they do not do well with. They've had huge holes with linebackers for a long time. And you finally get somebody that comes along that not just plays good, but plays at a defensive player of the year, and then helps win you a Super Bowl, right? We just talked about how he was part of winning them Super Bowl. He makes a big play in the Super Bowl, turns the ball over. I think that any fear you have that he's a one-hit wonder, if it was I think because of the position, because Nakobe Dean is hurt, because of your historical problems that you've had at linebacker, I think that you can't worry about that much.
I'm going to continue to ask you this question because I think it changes by the day. I had Xander the same thing. How are you on the Garrett deal right now? How do you feel about it? Have you warmed up? Have you gone cold on it? Are you looking at, because I think it's heating up. I think he's one of the sandboxes for Howie. It's free agent re-signs, it's the draft, and it's Garrett. And I think he's one of those sandboxes. How do you feel about him?
I think the Eagles want to get him. I think they want to get him. I think I think it would be great, but I also think that we've got to recognize the Eagles are negotiating from a position of power, of strength. We are now Super Bowl champions. We do not need Myles Garrett to have a championship defense. We already have a championship defense. We want Myles Garrett to be in addition to that championship defense. So I think it's you got to be very careful about, wanting to get rid of players that are younger that you have on that team that have already proven that they can win a Super Bowl, that they're good chemistry on this team. And I say, go get Myles Garrett. I say use draft picks and see what you can do and get him. But we don't need him. He needs us. That's how I look at it.
So here's my take on Dean and Nolan Smith. Once again, these guys end their seasons under the knife. Never been healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Nolan Smith, again, is not ready for training camp. And Dean's never finished the season so far. Not on IR. How do you feel about those two players?
I think Nolan Smith has arrived. I think a star was born in the playoffs, and I think he'll continue to get better and better. I think Dean, it's fair to be worried about his injuries because he has been banged up a lot. However, when you look at how he played last year, there's a lot to be excited for going, in the future. He's not a free agent. He'll be back next year. So I think we get a whole nother year to really worry about Dean and what we need to do in terms of his contract.
My only problem with those two guys is their health. I mean, Vic constantly says, especially with Smith, he's an undersized edge guy. Every press conference he's brought up That's the number one thing he brings up is that he's undersized. And I want to, it'll be interesting because next year, Philly, he played really half the year last year. Because when Graham went down, best thing happened to Nolan Smith was Brandon Graham getting hurt because he got put in the starting lineup. He got more reps. And I want to see if he can play 800 snaps. Well, let me ask you this one here. So how do you feel do I think this happens? Absolutely not. However, Howie's got to prepare for everything, right? All of them could be back. But Slay, Bond, Milton, and Sweat, if 90% of those guys are not back, how do you feel about your defense going into 2025?
As long as Bond's back, I'm good to go. I think we got a championship defense as long as I get Zach Bond
starters in the D line, you're good.
Well, I don't necessarily think. Well, I think you got to replace Josh Sweat, yeah. But I also think that you've got guys who are going into another year that are also going to be better. I think Jalen Hurts showed during the playoffs that he could play. I think that his role will be increased and deservedly so. I also think Nolan Smith is better than he was during the year. You've got to replace the edge rusher. I agree with you, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, to me, a veteran guy. You could go out there and you can get a rookie for all I care. I think you've got the young guys, and we've seen that the young guys can be effective here and they can play. So I think Sweat, you could survive. Milton Williams, I think, if you decide to move on from Jordan Davis, then Milton Williams you've got to bring him back. But if you're going to keep Jordan Davis, then I think you could survive Milton too. Also, remember, Ajomo is another kid that developed. These kids that played in the playoffs and the Super Bowl, they're all developing and getting better. I think they're better next year than they were this year.
Well, help me out on this one then. If you are the Eagles, you got a couple months to figure this out right now. Would you extend Jordan Davis? That extension looks like $13 million right now. If you were to pick up the fifth-year option and extend him, you're talking about $13 million. I mean, here's a guy that plays 36%, 34% of the snaps. He's not a three-down guy. And I say this to you too, Philly. If they draft the DT at 32, he's out. Okay, if they draft the defensive tackle, what would you do? And, hey, do I want the player gone? No. Because I think he made those linebackers have a great year. I think he was part of that whole group playing well there. There's no coincidence, right? Every linebacker had a career year. Well, it's the two dudes in front of him, too, that played exceptional football. What would you do with Jordan Davis?
I try to extend him because I think that you probably, if you do an extension, I think you may be able to get a pretty good deal for him because I don't think he's going to get as much in an extension as maybe some other people have. I think that we saw a turning of the corner of Jordan Davis in the NFC Championship game. Guy goes out there, he gets a sack. Now, I don't know if you've seen him when he got that sack and they showed him on the sideline headbutting people without a helmet on, but he looked like the monkey was off his back. He looked different to me. And then he goes out in the Super Bowl on the biggest stage, performs well again. I think Jordan Davis is continuing to develop as well. And I think we're so quick to like throw him out and say he's a bust. He's not the guy. I think he's just beginning to come into his own. I would try to sign him, and I think you could get him at a reasonable price. So why not do it?
So you're going to sign a cheaper guy because Milton Williams is a better ball player.
Milton Williams is right, but he's
so
going to also
let the better
million.
But right. No, the price tag is because Xander asked me the same thing. He goes, Sills, you see this guy at $25 million playing in Philly? I go, absolutely not. And I don't see him as a 25, and I don't see him as a $25 million player. But would you not agree in the last 3 years, if you had to pick between the two players, Williams is a better ball player?
I agree with that. Yeah, I think that's fair. It's just that, when Cowboys, they just signed a defensive tackle to like $21 million a year, right? I mean, I just think that you can't afford
Who's that?
Milton Williams. I don't even know, right? I don't even know. So I think Davis, I think maybe there's an opportunity to get him at, not where you're overpaying both those positions. Remember, you're going to have to take care of Jalen Carter when the time comes, and you have to pay him whatever you have to pay him. So I think signing Jordan Davis is not necessarily a bad move.
Two last ones here for you, and this is what I said the Cowboys are. The Cowboys are like that dump you take, that one shit turd that's in the toilet that just will never flush, and it circles, and it's just circling, and it circles, and it circles. It's the same thing for the last 30 years. Jalen Hurts has more victories in the postseason than the Cowboys do in 30 years.
I know.
I mean, and it just keeps circling and circling. I mean, where are the Cowboys going? And here's the difference between the Dallas Cowboys and the Eagles. Dak Prescott's number this year, Philly, is $90 million on the cap, and Hurts is $21 million. Dude,
I know.
You're just smarter than Dallas.
No, and the best is when Mark Holmes does a video and he's like, well, you guys want to give him credit. You give Howie credit about Hurts and his contract, but don't you know that they're going to have to pay in 2029? 2029? Or you're worried about 2029? That Dallas is on the way down. I think this is going to be
it's Washington.
Like their last hurrah. Yeah,
it's
Washington's on the way up.
It's Washington. Yeah. That's the only team, because Washington's got $90 million that they can spend. They've got 10 draft picks, and they got a pretty good GM in Adam Peters, man. I mean,
right.
Gary Jones is just not good. I think Dallas is going to be bad for a couple of years here.
Yeah, I think so. I think that, we're a year away, maybe a year away from the Dak Prescott trade. Because I don't see Dallas doing much. I think Washington, they're going to be a threat. And the Deebo Samuel move to me was more a shot across the bow. You know what I mean? That was like, hey, we're coming. Get ready for us. We're coming after you. So be ready. So I'm not.
You got to impress me. You got to impress me a little more, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think he changes or turns the needle.
No.
But to me, it's the statement that they made with that trade is what I pay attention to. I think we're coming. We're gunning for you guys. So we're gonna have to respond.
All right. So I watched your show. And by the way, I never watch shows. I watched yours. Okay. So I will tell you this. I saw the notepads and I saw the clipboards and the boards. I mean, the way you were breaking down the draft, I mean, I thought you were Mel Kiper himself back there, bro.
I'm much
just
better
breaking all that shit down. What do you think Philly does at 32?
I don't think they'll be at 32. I think they'll either trade out or trade up. Either trade back or trade up. I would be shocked if they said at 32. I think that it could be a trade back. It could be a trade up. They may trade the pick away. But the one thing I don't think they'll do is pick at 32. So we'll see. I still think defensive line looks like where you're going to go. I think it's really, really deep. I think probably edge rusher. I think I could see a tight end early in this draft. And I think the safety position is interesting because I do think that they're looking at doing something there. Maybe they look at Reed Blankenship and say, he's a good, solid kid, but in 2 years or whatever, we're not going to pay him what he's going to want. So let's get another safety in here. Maybe they look at it and say, yeah, these safeties are going to be on the board and they'll be the best player available. I think if you stay at 32, you just get the best player on the board. I don't care what position. Just take the best player.
You son of a bitch. You just came up with a great, great, great idea for the Eagles. Let me ask you this. This draft is one of the worst drafts in 15 freaking years. It's just not loaded with great. Look, I see great athletes. I don't really see the tape showing me great players.
Right.
I mean, I just don't. Like the kid Stewart, put his tape on. He had a great combine. He gets lost in games. He had 3 sacks last year. I mean, how about this, Philly? You trade that 32nd pick away, and you get 2 1s next year.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I would have no problem if the Eagles said, "Hey, you know what? We will trade our 32nd pick to whoever team wants it, but we want your 2026 first round pick."
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea because anything goes wrong with that team that does it. Yeah, you can
And
get a
you got
decent
two
first round pick.
ones where you could potentially move up to get
Yeah.
a guy you really want. I think next year's draft is going to be really good. And you're
Right.
going to have 2 ones. Maybe you'll get a 1 and a 3 in
Right.
that
You
whole
might.
thing.
Yeah, maybe you get a team that has a GM that is like worried about his ass right now, worried about his job right now,
Mind
and doesn't
Dable.
care 2 years, and he'll do what he needs to do to save his job, and he'll give you that first round pick. I mean, why not? It could be done. I don't think that's a bad idea at all for the Eagles if they decided to go that way.
If you
They've done
re-sign 3 of the 4 guys and you get those guys back and you decide to spend the majority of that money on getting those guys back in the building, I trade that 32nd pick and get myself 2 ones next year.
Yeah, if you could, I'm totally not
trade that
to
to New England, and God forbid
Right.
if that thing turns out to be in the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, think about this. I mean, how many teams a few years ago do you see come off a Super Bowl that ends up getting a top 10 pick? I mean, dude, they just just lost the Super Bowl, and they drafted Jalen Carter. I mean, so you got to take chances like that. I don't think it's a bad idea. I think they're deep enough. I think they're good enough that they could afford to play around with those draft picks like that.
Boy, I tell you, man, if I get 3 of my 4 guys signed, and I get them inked down and all them young players and all the guys I have on my roster, and I could take the rest of those draft picks from rounds 2 down, trade up, maybe get myself a couple more picks in the 2nd and 3rd round, because I think between the 15th pick and the 50th pick, I think they're all the same guys.
Yeah.
I think it's best player available after 15 or maybe 20. So to me, 32 and 50 are the same guy, in my opinion.
I kind of agree. Yeah. I agree.
You trade that pick and you get 2 ones. You go to Carolina or you go to New England or you go to the Raiders and you give them the 32nd pick. I mean, I'm telling you, what if the Raiders have a 5-win season? You mean to tell me the Eagles get back to the NFC title game in the Super Bowl maybe, and you got the 4th pick in the fucking draft?
Wouldn't that be great? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what you need. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. I really don't.
Gotcha, brother. Great stuff. Make sure you guys check out our great friend here, Philly 500. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, my man. Have a good one.
That is Philly 500. What do you guys make of that, man? By the way, Gary Cobb will join us at 5:15 Eastern time. What do you guys make of that, man? You end up trading that number 32. If you get down there and you get this, Xander, right? Didn't we say this? I think it was Xander who said it. I have to agree with him. I mean, from pick 15 to pick 50, it's the same dude. It's the same guy, 236 likes, guys. Let's get those numbers up. Let's see if we can get to 300 by the end of the program. Love to do that. You guys get every one of those players signed. He gave me the idea when I heard trade down or trade up, and I said, why not trade the pick away for next year? If you're able to have a good offseason, I'm trading that pick. You mean to tell me that in the 2nd round, I can get the same pick that I would at 32, and maybe Jack Sawyer's there, and I get 2 ones next year? What are we talking about? Then next year, you're talking about potentially being in the top 5 if you make that trade. Because here's what's going to happen. Cleveland wouldn't do it, but Cleveland's got a lot of assets because of what happened with Houston. Okay? With the Deshaun Watson trade. I'm just saying, to me, I think the second best option is trading that pick away and getting a first-round draft choice in 2026. Because when I look at this draft and I look at free agency, I'm just not going to sign somebody when I can have the same guy at 52 that I have at 32. Okay? Can you imagine the Philadelphia Eagles next year? You win the Super Bowl. You trade it to New England, and they have the number 1 overall pick. The Eagles could have the number 1 overall pick in the draft. I mean, that's kind of how you got Jalen Carter. Strategically, that makes more sense to me. Gary Cobb is going to join us at 5:15. Guys, don't forget our great friends at BetUS, our betting house and our partner that we have during this sports season, during the football year, was absolutely sensational with the YouTube 150. Absolutely great. We're imploring you to check out their website and absolutely understand what we've been talking about now for the entire football season. Now you're in baseball coming up. You're in basketball. We got the YouTube 150. It's signing bonuses up to $2K. And also, your second and third are 125%. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. Fastest payouts in the business. 24/7 personalized service, 365 days of the year. Live wagering on all major games. The home of Michael Vick, the new Norfolk State head football coach. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. And do me a favor, you tell them Big Sil sent you.
This is Eric. When he got injured in a car accident, he called Morgan & Morgan. He not only gets a lawyer, he gets trial lawyers like Sam and Jessica, who are in it to win it. He gets his own investigators with briefcases, leather ones. And if you ever have questions, our customer service folks keep things rolling. Injured? We're your army. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Ignite your nights with free live entertainment daily, only at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia's Center Bar. 7 days a week, enjoy some of the region's top party bands, performers, and DJs as they take the stage in the heart of the casino action. Great cocktails, live music, and lively moments. It's all happening at Center Bar at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. Visit livecasinophilly.com for more details and the complete list of upcoming events. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Bills National Football Show. Do me a favor, guys. Please hit the like button. Gary Cobb's going to join us here in a second. Trade it away. Then trade up in the second. Love it. I don't know. I don't think you need to do that. Must have missed it. What was your take on Deebo's trade? I'll reset that for you, JD3. I think it's good, not great. Yeah. Must be a big difference in trade value for Kupp. LA must want a third. Well, I think they're going to cut him. I think teams are just going to wait for him to be released. Shit, they're talking Devontae Adams being cut, JD. I say this to you. Just like last year, I don't think Philly, maybe he did. I don't think the Deebo move in itself is a game changer. He's a better player than what they have at wideout too. So he's an upgrade. Pretty expensive at $17 million. However, and I'm throwing this out, I have no insight on this, but if you get Becton, Garrett, and you have Deebo, and you got a three-headed horse there, that makes your football team sensational. That moves the needle. Just like if you lose Becton, Bond, Sweat, and Williams, that moves the needle. You know how it moves the needle? I'm not suggesting you can't replace them, but to what level? That'll be the question. You see, what you guys are looking at here is this. It's not that you can't, you're going to have to replace somebody. And Slay. It's not that you're going to have to replace. It's to what level of production are you getting in their replacement? Are you getting another guy who's going to be the defensive MVP in the Super Bowl out of Sweat? Are you going to get a guy who played, like Philly 500 said, at all-pro level? And are you going to get an all-pro linebacker in the free agent market? What do you think their chances of signing an all-pro or drafting an all-pro linebacker are? 0. Okay? 0. I mean, what level of production are you going to replace Milton Williams with? Look, Ajomo is probably the one guy on the team that's not going to make the Milton Williams loss feel that bad. The Sweat loss will be felt more. Here, the Bond loss will be felt. The Williams loss will not. Not as much as, at least I don't think. The Sweat loss will be. And for the record, the one thing that you do lose with Milton Williams that Ajomo can't give you, Ajomo can't play a 7-5 and a 3. He can't do that. You lose versatility in your D-line. Milton Williams can play a 3 technique, 5 technique, and a 7 technique. Ajomo cannot do that. He's an interior D tackle. So you lose flexibility. You don't really have a player on your defensive line outside of Carter that can play with that versatility. Milton Williams is a better run defender. Milton Williams is a better pass rusher. He's the second best D lineman on your football team. And with versatility. My problem with Sweat is he gets lost in the huddle sometimes or in traffic, and he'll go away for a couple games. Okay, I mean, so Williams is a versatile guy, and you're going to lose that versatility. I'll tell you, if you think about it, one of the things that really made the Eagle defense as good as advertised was Bond's versatility, Williams' versatility, Cooper DeJean's versatility. You had versatile guys that could play multi-roles. It's kind of like an old school New England defense. If you look at that defense that Philadelphia had this year is the closest thing to those Belichick Super Bowl defenses that you could put Vrabel down, stand. You could put Hightower down, stand them up. You could play all those guys that way. Howie restocks D tackles and D ends. Okay. Well, let's take a look at that for whatever here. The best defensive tackle in the last 20 years that you guys have been two. It's been Fletcher Cox and Jordan Davis. The rest of them have been functional. Most of them have been free agents or trades. Javon Hargrave was a Steeler before you guys got him. The guys you had in 22, Linville Joseph and Sue, were free agents. Jomo looks like, I like him. I like the kid Booker too. How much are you going to have in versatility though? Gary Cobb's going to join us from Fox 29 in Philadelphia. That'll be at 5:15. Okay? I appreciate you guys. Cam Jurgens will be better than Kelsey. Now, he was younger than Kelsey. That's what made him better, was that he was younger. Guys, we replaced Cox and Reddick. You didn't replace Reddick. Who? With who? You didn't replace those 11 and a half. You didn't replace those 30 sacks in 2 years. That's not true. A collective group? You did. But as a pass rusher, you did not. And Nolan Smith, dog. Hassan Reddick had 30 sacks in 2 years. Hassan Reddick won the NFC Championship game by himself. I mean, he could have been the NFL Defensive Player of the Year that year. Nolan Smith did not replace Hassan Reddick. Let's see him play 17 games. I think that leads us to this. I should have asked you guys. How do you feel about going back after Hassan Reddick for $11 million? Sign him to a 2-year deal or even a 1-year deal. You brought back Gardner Johnson. He talks shit out the door too. $11 million. $11 million. Shit, today's market, that's a steal. That's what his market value is. He loves Philly. He just had a bad year. Dude, inside of 18 months, he destroyed. Well, you got to replace. Wait a minute here. You guys go, I'm good. Wait a minute. Who are you replacing Josh Sweat with? A draft pick? Really? So you're going to go with a draft pick at edge to replace him. Okay. Jalix Hunt? I'm not sold Jalix Hunt's a starter. Absolutely not. How could you be? Where in the world are you getting that he's a starter? He's got promise. He's got potential. He's showing signs. And by the way, they put that guy in situations. He was a situational player last year. Holy shit. I'm not debating that. Not anywhere near that. All right. Here were some of the players that I thought had good weekends. And here's some of the players I thought had bad weekends. And here's some of the players that I think the Eagles might want to land on for this draft. Let me talk about the guys who I thought had a good weekend. Now, again, I want to make sure people understand this about how I look at the combines. Number one is game tape. It's not who runs a 40 the fastest. I don't give a shit about that. It's a metric. Number two, your medicals. Number three, your interview. And then I'll take your workout. What you did at the combines, bench press, 40-yard dash, that's the fourth thing on my list. It's the fourth thing on my list. Number one is game tape. Is he good? Are you productive? Can you play? I mean, are you good? I don't care to draft a guy who looks good at Gold's Gym. I don't give a shit about that. I care about guys who make plays around the football. I want a guy who can make football plays. Okay. I thought Cam Ward had a great weekend. Quarterback out of Miami. I thought he helped himself out. Me? I thought Shedeur Sanders. Who the fuck are you that you think you're the number one overall pick, that you've done anything in your career in college that makes me think that you look like a first-round quarterback? That guy looks like a third-round quarterback to me. And he'll go in the first round. He'll be in the top 10, no question. I thought Shedeur Sanders, though. Why wouldn't you want to go out there? Why? Because you're Deion's kid? You never beat a team in the top 25 in your entire time at Colorado? I'm not sure what to think of you. I see some talent. I don't think you're awful. But I mean, when I look at him, like, do I see even Bo Nix? I don't see it. Shamar Stewart, the kid from A&M. I've got a problem with him just for the fact that when I put his game tape on, like I said, the number one thing for me is game tape. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see the production. And A&M, I know they recruit. They got a lot of great players down there. They just don't win games because the coaching's not very good. For whatever reason, Texas A&M, they get the guys there because of nil and because of the field they have there, where they get all that money for the players, and it's a lot of money for the nil guys. But Kyle Field, you want to play at A&M because of the money that's paid to those players. But when I watch him play, I don't see it. I see a great athlete who's never produced to his skill set. The same conversation I had about Jordan Davis. Great athlete, never lived up and never as productive. Okay? Never. So I think he helped himself. Abdul Carter, I think he hurt himself. Okay, he's probably needs surgery on his foot. He's not going to do it. He thinks it's going to heal. Okay. He's an undersized guy. You know? I mean, I didn't get a chance to see anything. Now, look, this is not deadly to a guy's career. But I don't know. Got to remember something about these combines. It first starts with this, your game tape, your medicals, then the interview, and then if you're a good guy in the gym. You hear what Gary said? Last time Gary was on, he goes, when I was being worked out, I didn't prepare correctly to be evaluated because when they came and looked at me, I was 220 pounds or 210 pounds. Gary probably needed to be up there, like back then, probably 235, 245. Remember something, when they ran the ball back in them days, you know what they probably looked at? Gary Cobb would be a perfect first-round draft choice linebacker today because the game's played in so much space. But when Gary played, this guy had to eat chili dogs to get his weight up so he could get to 245. Because back then, dude, people ran downhill in the league. He had some of the best running backs in NFL history when he played. And you had to take on physical guards. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, with him and Coffee up there, I think they played in a 34. So if he was in a 34, Gary was lined up over 6'5", 300-pound guards. At 210, I don't know. It had to be awful good, which he was. All right. We're going to go in chronological order here. What's happened? We're going to get to all your super chats. I appreciate you guys. Do me a favor. Please hit the like button here. From Fox 29 and former Eagle himself, our good friend Gary Cobb joins us now. And Gary, am I right? I mean, can you imagine? I try telling people this. If I was this much taller and you weighed 15 pounds more, that's the difference between going in the second round, maybe in the fifth round. That's all the difference is when you're starting to evaluate these guys.
That's right. Size is very important. Of course, they look at size and they look at speed. If depending on the position, if you're playing a position where you got to cover people, you got to be able to run. And of course, the game now, the passing game has really kind of taken over. Even though you can see where the Eagles are able to run that ball. And so that's still a factor, but most teams, they want to throw the ball. And so you got to be able to run, and that's a priority. If you're a defensive back or you're a linebacker, you got to be able to run, So all those ingredients play in there, and size isn't as big as it was in the past when I came in the league, it was a running league. Everybody's running the ball. Don't get it twisted. If you can't stop the run, you're not going to play in the league. So I think the Eagles, it's going to be very interesting to see what they do offensively, with the fact that I don't know that they would run Saquon as much this coming year. Now, he's still going to be, a key factor in the offense, but I could see them throwing the ball a bit more, because I don't know that they want to put all those carries back-to-back years of a guy who's getting older. So,
Gary, how about this here? First, Darius Slay.
Yep.
I had a conversation with Robert Bailey at the Rosenhaus firm. Drew Rosenhaus represent him. And these guys are now saying this. They've not closed the door on coming back. And as you know, this is a $12 million player.
Yeah.
Very few people in that market are going to pick that contract up. So he's probably going to clear waivers. And with a 34-year-old guy, maybe you can talk to this at the back end of your career. I'm looking at it like this. Hey, I don't want to move across the country to play at a shitty team like New England, where I've got Baltimore and Washington, where I could stay in that same environment, not have to move, or stay in Philly, and maybe they offer him $7 million to come back and play 1 year. So, I mean, you look at the free agent market, corners, it's not really great.
No.
You're not going to draft a third corner in 2 years with the first pick. So is Slay their best option to let him clear waivers and see if they can come to an agreement and bring him back?
He could be. He could definitely be. I think they're looking at it. They're he's going to have to be willing to do that. He's taking less money, but he knows that environment, which would be better for him, because he's here. He knows it's going to be a winning environment. I think he's looking at either the Eagles or the Lions.
Yeah.
Because he knows that these teams are going to be winning. This is not going to be a year where they're, he's dealing with a team in the basement. So I think he's looking at that, and it's going to be interesting. It's a matter of, what do the Eagles think of their other corners? They got some youngsters. Are they going to be able to sign and have the people they want at that corner spot? Or they might say, you know what? Slay is still our best option, and we want to bring him back, but we're going to bring him back. Of course, he's not going to be making as much, which is going to allow us to do other things we want to do on our defense. And Howie, Howie's looking over there. He's got to be looking at Cleveland. He's got to be saying, well, what would it cost? And it's a matter of, are they, can they do a deal with Cleveland?
For Myles Garrett here.
For Myles Garrett. Yeah, that's right. I mean, of course, that's a certain thing. And I'm sure that they are writing out, what's going to happen if they go in that direction. And then they're going to be writing out a formula for what's going to go if they don't go in that direction. What are they going to do? But they know they're probably going to have to add. They got to add personnel on the defensive line. they're going to lose probably a couple guys.
How about this though, Gary? Here, the Garrett deal is interesting here for sure, but
yeah, see, I don't think they're not going to be able to sign Sweat. I don't think
9 days, but we're 9 days out from training camp now.
Mm-hmm.
The more this keeps going on, I'd say by the end of the week, if we don't see contracts on the table here, how many of these guys are going to walk into free agency in 9 days? I mean, I'm going to go the big five: Isaiah Rodgers, Becton, Bond. You're going to have Sweat and Milton Williams. I mean, do you think all 5 of these guys are going to be walking into free agency? Do you think Howie's going to let all 5 of those guys go out there and test the market? Or do you think we'll start to see some deals here? Because, I mean, if I'm Zach Bond, the more this goes on, why in the world would I take a $12 million deal when I know some stupid team like Green Bay? I played at Wisconsin. Green Bay offers me a 3-year, $17 million annual deal. How don't I go back home? I'm 28 years old.
Yeah. Well, this is the kind of thing, you're kind of playing cards, Everybody's looking down there, only, the team willingness. How far are they willing to go? How can, if you let somebody get out there on the market, then, you're basically a prisoner to what they're offered.
Yeah.
If somebody's willing to break the bank, you can't blame a guy for going and getting the money. He doesn't know how long he's going to play.
Plus, he's 28.
Yeah, I mean, clearly he's got to put a certain number up there and going, like, I got to get at least, his agent's got to say how much at the least he was willing to take. Because he doesn't know how much longer he's going to play. And he hasn't made, he hasn't been making the big money. So he's got to get paid. And that's got to be what he's thinking. So I imagine they write down some numbers that they expect to see. And they're not willing to sign unless they get that number,
If you're Bond, Gary, if you were Bond and in his position,
yeah,
would you re-sign or would you want to do see, 2 things can be right here. You can want to resign and stay in Philly, but would you want to be a guy who went out there and said, let me take a couple offers, see where we're at here? Because, even the Eagles might want to see what his value is, right? Because if the Eagles come in there and give him a $50 million deal, he gets in the open market. All of a sudden, people are going 13, 12. The Eagles, they were negotiating against themselves.
That's right.
So what would you do?
I would want to see what numbers are out there. I would want to see that. I would want to see what are people
letting them know you want to stay.
That's right. I'd let them know I want to stay because it's a great situation for him. Of course, he'd like to stay here. He knows he's got a team that if they don't win it again, they're going to be knocking on the door again. So you'd like to stay here when you're talking about from the football standpoint, but then you got the financial standpoint. There are really two aspects of it. But you definitely want to play for a team that's in the hunt. You would like to. But, of course, you want to get your money, too. So you would like to get both of those. So getting paid and being here with the Eagles would be an option you would love. That would be really the top option because, you got a team that's knocking on the door to win again, to win the whole thing. So, you would like to stay here, but you want your money, too.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think of how he knows, again, when we're talking about negotiating here, I don't think that that's really something that's going to bend or hurt relationships there. Just wanting to know what the market is there. You can't blame him. Come on. They couldn't blame him for that. They wouldn't. Got to cash in, right? He's 28. He's never made a ton of money before here. So let me go over to this now.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the Myles Garrett deal. I'm going to keep asking you this question here because I'm asking everybody this because it seems to be wobbling one way or the other each and every single day, every 24 hours. This thing changes. Are you in now with this? If they could make something happen, you might have to trade some players. You might have to trade some high picks. I mean, you get him on your football team. You got Carter and Garrett on your football team. You got the best combo since Reggie White and Jerome.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got craziness on that defense. Are you more in, or are you still, we're the champs, we really don't have to rip the game plan up? Where are you with this?
Well, the thing is, if you're thinking on a football level, this is a passing league, okay? You got two guys, they cannot throw the football because they got both of these guys climbing all over them every play. If you can get him in here, I mean, you're willing to give up something. You know that you might not be as strong in another position, but those guys on your defensive line, both of them, put you in a position where I don't know who's going to block both of them. I don't see how, and then, you talk about Vic with the way he doesn't like the blitz. You don't have to blitz. We got two guys that they cannot block both of these guys. They're going to be climbing over the quarterback every play. So defensively, look at what we're bringing to the table, and we're going to be hard to move the ball on because we got two guys you cannot block. You can't double team them every play. You got to pick which one you want to double team, and one of them is going to be one-on-one, and we don't have, there's nobody in the league that's going to block these guys one-on-one. So we put the defense in a position where we expect to have the best defense in the league. So if you can work out a deal where you can bring him in here, I mean, and Howie, I mean, he's worked his magic before. And if he can do that now, you go ahead and make a deal. Bring him in here.
Gary, Jordan Davis is up. Next couple months, they have to make a decision if they're going to pick the fifth-year option up on the guy. And that would look like a $13 million fifth-year option for a guy who plays 34% of the snaps.
I can't see that. I can't see it. I can't see it giving him that kind of money. He just hasn't shown anything. Like, we're talking about a guy that's basically a run stopper. Okay, he's not a pass rusher. He hasn't shown he can do that. And as much as you would love to keep him here, you can't give him that kind of money. Just can't. Right now, he's not. Come on, as a defensive lineman, you got to be able to rush the passer. And you notice that even as great as the defensive line was playing, I mean, he wasn't on the field very much.
Yeah, 20 plays.
So, I'm sorry, you just can't not pay him that kind of money. Because he has not shown you that he can rush the passer. This is a passing league. Taking on the double team, that's great. We appreciate. We can get some fat guys to come in here and take on that double team. And as much as high as he was taken, he hasn't really played up to that.
Ajamo, you could make the argument he played more snaps last year than what even Jordan Davis did. I mean. But again, then you start looking at the philosophy of it. And I get the number on Williams. In the last 3 years, Milton Williams has outplayed Jordan Davis.
Mm-hmm.
He can play in a 7, a 5, and a 3 technique.
That's right.
You lose the versatility if you allow. Why would you let a 25-year-old defensive lineman walk out the building? I get the number. He could be north of $20 million, like Javon Hargrave got $20 million from the Niners. But Gary, why would you have an argument or a conversation about Jordan Davis, who's a first and second down player, where you got a guy that you drafted, you developed, you had great coaching with, and he produced for you?
Yeah.
Why would you let him just walk out the building?
Well, it's all going to come down to the numbers. I mean, can you re-sign him? You would love to have him back, but you got to look at this total picture. And that's what Howie's got to do. He's been great at doing that, looking at the total picture and saying, okay, what is the maximum we can do? We would love to keep all the talent we've got. We would love to do that. But what can we get? What is the most talent we can get for the money that we got on the table? And he's great at, I don't know how he does it. He must throw something in the air or something, or whatever he does. I don't know how he does it, man. He finds a way going like, he signed all of them. Well, so he's able to get the maximum, but we understand that somebody is going to walk. Somebody will.
Absolutely.
Somebody's going to walk. But he's going to get the maximum talent on the field. and that's what you that's why you feel good about, having it in Howie's hands. I mean, he finds a way to get it done, man. I don't know how he does it, but he finds a way really better than anybody in the league.
Couple last ones here for you. So Nakobe Dean and Nolan Smith, and everybody's really raving about these guys, but here's my spin on them. Okay, Gary, I think they showed us that they can play in this league. However, you've also shown me that one thing is consistent with both of you. You're just undersized ball players. You're always somewhere in the season, you're injured. Nakobe Dean has never been in Philadelphia without ending the year on IR.
Yeah.
And you constantly heard Vic say this in every press conference when he was referencing Nolan Smith. He's an undersized guy who plays with great tenacity, but he's undersized. So to me, can you build a defense around people that their health is in question? Hey, it's one thing.
I don't think you can say that with Nolan Smith. You could clearly say that
they drafted him hurt, though. He had a shoulder injury when he came out of Georgia.
Yeah. But last year he played the entire year. He played the entire year. They're going to keep an eye on him, of course. But the thing that I saw with Nolan, that he's getting better at playing with leverage.
Okay.
The kid is playing with leverage. I mean, I saw him get better versus the run, versus the pass this past year. He did a great job. And he is undersized, and maybe he might, start holding some of that weight on him and stuff. But the thing played great leverage, man. He wasn't getting knocked back.
True.
If anything, he was getting under, and then he uses his speed around that corner. I mean, he comes around that corner, man. He's run down some fast quarterbacks because he's got, you're talking about got 4.4, 4.3 speed, whatever, coming around the corner, man.
4.3.
I mean, he's running guys down. So right now, I see him now. Of course, if you're talking about injuries, they have sustained certain injuries, but I don't have a problem with Nolan, though. Nolan has
he's proven to you. Has
he proven Nolan's been going like this? I mean, I guess he's been going like this.
Has he proven to you?
Has he proven to me? I would have to say right now, I'm a believer in Nolan Smith. I mean,
okay.
You look at the playoffs. This is when you're supposed to have the best people out there on the field, the best teams. The guy has 4.5 sacks. He's doing a great job against the run. And that's what I'm saying is, like, from a leverage standpoint, he gets under these big defensive tackles, and he doesn't get blown off the line, even versus the run.
True.
But the big thing is, you're rushing the passer like that. You're getting to the quarterback. You're valuable.
Absolutely. There's a big market for that. And that goes to this question. Well, if you're Howie, would you ever entertain this? Because you entertained it with Gardner Johnson. You brought him back, even after he talked shit to the Philly fans. Would you contemplate bringing Hassan Reddick back at $11 million? Here's a guy who had 30 sacks for you in 2 years and destroyed the 49ers in the NFC Championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Would you think about at least entertaining or having a conversation about bringing him back and making him part of the 4-man rotation?
Well, I think that's something you would be open to. Depends on, what kind of money he's talking about. Depending on, is he in good health? I know
mentally too, right?
That mentally too. Yeah, he's got to come in, and he's been pretty good. That whatever, he could fight for some money. When he's come in every time, the guys come in ready to play. So I think Hassan is that type of professional where he understands there's a money part of this game, and the Eagles have to do what's best for the Eagles. At the same time, he's doing what's best for him, and then you got to let it go. Once that the contracts have been signed and everything, you got to come in and produce. And he's been very professional about that. So I think he could handle whatever situation. If they wanted to do that, that's something that I think that I can understand, because he is a professional. Every year he's been there for the Eagles, he's produced.
Absolutely, man. I mean, so I want to propose this to you finally here. I want to propose this. So let's say they get 4 of the 5 guys signed back and they lose Milton, but they get the rest of these guys back. Why not do this at 32? Because I look at the draft. I don't know, Gary. I mean, I see a lot of good athletes, but I don't see a lot of great game tape. I just look at that draft and I see one of the worst drafts in 15 years. I look at the free agent market. It's even worse. So why not do this if you're the Eagles? I came up with this a couple minutes ago. At 32, why not trade that pick to New England, Carolina, somebody like that? And in 2026, in case there are free agent issues or an injury, you got 2 first-round draft choices in the 2026 NFL draft. And then I don't think there's a difference between pick 20 and pick 50. I think they're all kind of the same. Why not trade that pick and put yourself and hedge your bets where you got 2 ones where you could do some serious damage in 26, especially when you got a lot of contracts coming up?
Well, they're going to evaluate these guys, and if they evaluate them the way you said, which I've heard other people saying the same thing about the talent here, that this is not a big talent. The whole draft is not is not going to be a great draft. If they evaluate it like that, that is quite a move to do that, because you got a team that's knocking on the door right now. This is not a team, and that's why I don't know that I see Howie doing this, because if they were to have to move up, let's say, and they say there's one guy that they got to have that's a standout, and they got to move up to 15, and they got to give up quite a bit from a pick standpoint to get that particular guy. I think Howie's going to go up and get that guy if he doesn't see that this is not a strong draft. So I would see him doing that, and I would see him trying to maybe be more aggressive about 1 or 2 guys that they feel are elite players. If there's nobody there at 30, he'll go up and try to. I mean, at 32, he'll try to go up and get somebody. But for him to do what you're saying, for him to do that I could understand them doing that, but that'd be quite an option, which I probably would doubt that he would do that.
You think they're going to use that pick? Would you do you think that at that pick, it's going to determine next week on free agency on who they lose on what they do at 32, right?
Yeah, I could see. I don't think they'll stay at 32 then. See?
Oh, you think they move up?
Well, if they see there's nothing there at 32, which I've heard people say that there's not going to be much there, then I could see Howie going up. If he sees let's say there's one guy, we've already seen him like this. He sees a guy that he knows can come in and help this team get over the hump, maybe going after another title. I think he would be more apt to go up and be aggressive and end up giving up a lot to make that move up. But I would see him leaning on that side rather than trading back, because if he trades back, that would be a surprise in him not try to add something to this team, which he's already said, and it's very obvious that this is a team, NOW. This is a now team. They're already knocking on the door. They feel if they could add 1 or 2 talented players to get them over the hump again, I could see them that he's leaning and looking at that, and maybe he has to, to give a whole lot. Somebody say you can't give up that much for that guy. Well, they think that guy's going to help them win another title. I think they go after it.
Hey, Gary. So tomorrow we're getting Jeff Fisher on, and okay. I think he played with you at Southern Cal, and I'm going to say he may have been your D coordinator when you were in Philadelphia too, because I know he was the coordinator there with right. Jerome, yes. And he was the DB coach. So I mean,
I know Jeff.
3:30. He was with the Bears and he was with Buddy Ryan, right?
That's right. Yeah. Jeff came in. Jeff was at USC when I was there, and he also came in with Buddy Ryan when I was with the Eagles. No doubt about it. I know Jeff Fisher real well. Yeah. You tell him I said hello.
You bet I will. You guys had so many great players that ended up going on. I don't believe you were in the room when Del Rio was there. I think Del Rio was after you.
No, Del Rio was after me. Yeah, he was after me. but I definitely played with Jeff Fisher. That's right. Because Jeff was a youngster. He was a youngster back then. Yeah.
Oh, so so you was the linebacking core at SC, you and Woods?
No, not Woods. You had Clay Matthews was there. Of course, Ricky Ellison. You had Chip Banks, Larry McGrew. Just
who were your backups though?
We had some backups. It's hard. I mean, the backups weren't getting too much time, so but we had a lot of players though, and we had some good players back then on those USC teams. That's right.
No doubt. Hey, did you play for Coach McKay or did you play for Coach Robinson?
Well, really, 3 years under Robbo and 1 year under McKay.
Wow. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
National champion too, by the way, just in case folks are keeping score. Great stuff, Gary. I appreciate it. This is what makes the offseason great. You just don't know. We're going to find out in the next 9 days what the hell's going on here.
That's right. Hey, with Howie and those guys, all they got to be is right. You know what I mean? Just be right.
Absolutely, man.
Just be
Thank
right,
you, Gary.
man.
I appreciate it, my friend.
All right, have a good one.
You got it. That's right, man. And he's been right the last 7 years. Do me a favor, guys. Please hit the like button here. I'm going to go back over the guys who impressed me, the guys that I think the Eagles may look at, and some of the guys that I'm starting to question a little bit that are going to go in the April draft. Do me a favor. Hit the like button. Don't forget our great friends at Morgan & Morgan, the #1 injury law firm in America. And my great friend John Morgan and his wife Ultima have built this law firm into being the #1 law firm when it comes to injury law firms in America. There is nobody out there with a better resume. And here is their unmatched resume. $20 billion in recovery for clients across the country. Thousands of attorneys that Morgan & Morgan has, they go to battle for you each and every single year. Anytime you have an issue, make no mistake about it, that's what Morgan & Morgan is all about. Listen, life is hard. A lot of hard decisions to make. This will be the easiest decision that you ever make. If you're ever injured, please check out our great friends at Morgan & Morgan, where the fee is free unless they win. For more info, go to forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. That's FOR, thepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. And do me a favor, you tell them Big Sales sent you.
This is Eric. When he got injured in a car accident, he called Morgan & Morgan. He not only gets a lawyer, he gets trial lawyers like Sam and Jessica, who are in it to win it. He gets his own investigators with briefcases, leather ones. And if you ever have questions, our customer service folks keep things rolling. Injured? We're your army. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Ignite your nights with free live entertainment daily, only at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia's Center Bar. 7 days a week, enjoy some of the region's top party bands, performers, and DJs as they take the stage in the heart of the casino action. Great cocktails, live music, and lively moments. It's all happening at Center Bar at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. Visit livecasinophilly.com for more details and the complete list of upcoming events. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. Please hit the like button. Jeff Fisher tomorrow, the former head coach of the Rams and Tennessee Titans, and the former D coordinator of the Philadelphia Gangrene defense. He's now the commissioner of the Arena Football League, which will start this coming weekend. We're going to talk some ball with our friend. He coached that guy right there, Jerome Brown and Reggie White, for Buddy Ryan. It was in Chicago with Buddy when they won that 85 Super Bowl. So he'll be with us. That'll be at 3:30 tomorrow Eastern time. We'll have the former head coach of the Rams on with us. So please hit the like button. We love it here. Appreciate you guys coming aboard. By the way, any supers I missed, Andrew, if we did, please, again, put them out there for us. We're a couple likes away from 275. Hit that like button. We appreciate it. The schedule, just a little bit here. Sanders reminds me of Tyrod Taylor. Sanders reminds me of Jamarcus Russell. That's what I see. That kid's got bust all over him. The kid Cam Ward was great. Of all the quarterbacks that are in this draft, I think Cam's the only legitimate first round. Hey, by the way, I do think that Shedeur is going to go in the top 10. I do. Here's who the Eagles have this year. Obviously, Cowboys, Giants, and Washington. They got Detroit home, Chicago home, got the Raiders home, got Denver home, and the Rams. I think the Rams are the second best team in the NFC. Because of the quarterback. I think Detroit has the second best roster in the NFC. But it was the Rams that pushed the Eagles. I mean, they had the best playoff game against the Eagles. You can make the argument Detroit's got the best roster, sure. But the Rams were the one team that pushed them. Away games, Dallas, New York, Washington. So you're back in Tampa again. Green Bay at Lambeau. Kansas City again. Minnesota. The Chargers, and Buffalo. I got to tell you, here's your away games. Dallas, Giants, Washington, Bucks, Packers, Kansas City, Vikings, Chargers, and Bills. Pretty formidable. That's a pretty tough schedule. Those away games, I get the home games are manageable. But the away games, you got to go to Tampa, you got to go to Green Bay, you got to go to Los Angeles, and you got to go to Buffalo. When? And you got to go to Kansas City. That's going to be, I mean, look, Washington, NFC. Here are the teams. Look at this. Detroit playoff, Washington playoff, Rams playoff, Denver. The Bucks are a good team. Green Bay, Kansas City, Minnesota. The Chargers are a good team. And Buffalo Bills. You got 10 teams that are playoff caliber. And you got to play Washington twice. That's pretty good, man. That's a pretty formidable away game, away schedule. You know, one guy this past weekend, by the way, please hit the like button, guys. Give me a total on that. I would make this comment to you that one guy kind of stuck out that I'm going to throw as an outlier. Xander, I don't know if you like him or not, but Trevor Etienne, the kid who started at Florida, played at Georgia, 3rd or 4th round. I'm kind of good with that, right? I'd be okay 4th or 5th round. Trevor Etienne, I like him. If I can get him down there, I thought him transferring hurt him. I thought he should have stayed at Florida. How much money Kansas City destroys the Eagles in the game? You know what I'll say to that? Who cares? Just like when the Eagles won 2 years ago in Kansas City, who cares? Those are consolation prizes. I don't give a shit about those games like that when you're talking Kansas City and Philly. Talk to me, it's the Super Bowl or playoffs. The Eagles have graduated into a different conversation now. Okay? You're being gauged on what you do in the postseason. Win your division. Try to win home field. Give yourself that option. But they're in a different conversation now. Green Bay's fighting for respectability in the regular season. The Eagles aren't. There's too many wins now. Okay? Oh, way to catch me there, Mad D. Okay. Hey, Mad D. Touche. Did you hear yourself, Sills? Stay in Florida? Touche. Yeah, sorry. Hey, hey, Mad D. Yeah. Copy. All right. Sure. Very good. Way to be on top of it. Look, yeah, easy, so easy. Look at Sue with a wrench. I bet half you guys are moaning over that when Sue got a wrench. See that? I like it. I was telling you the guys that I liked in the draft or what they did at the combines. Cam Ward, I thought he had a great weekend. Shamar Stewart, he's kind of a complex guy for me. I thought Kenny Grant, the defensive tackle from Michigan, had a good one. James Pierce. My problem with Pierce was he had such a great sophomore year, not the best junior year, and he was good his senior year or the last 3 years. I thought it was kind of like his best year was his sophomore year. Okay. And this game tape kind of shows me a little bit. I mean, you're telling me your best year was 2 years ago? Now, if you remember right, Derek Stingley played like that. His best years were years previous. And his last 2 years in college were not the best. Okay. Guys I thought didn't have a good weekend. Shador Sanders. I saw Emeka Ibuka, the wide receiver from Ohio State. I didn't really think had a great – he didn't do anything. He's waiting for his pro day. I thought Abdul Carter with the potential surgery he needs. And here's the thing about Jack Sawyer. Does Jack Sawyer want to get traded lower in the first round? It's a great idea. Sue's great. She can wrench me anytime. God. Always there, huh? Thank you, Matt D. It's a great idea here. Check it out. If you're Jack Sawyer. If I'm not going into top 10 picks and you don't have me earmarked, why would I want to go in the middle of the draft to like Arizona. For what? If I'm at the bottom of the draft, I go to Kansas City, Washington. Can you imagine James Pierce and Myles Garrett as the two rush ends in Washington? I would love that. Or Jack Sawyer and Myles Garrett are your two pass rushers. I mean, you make a trade for Trey Hendrickson and Sawyer? A 2 and a 5, like for Burns? For Hendrickson? Hendrickson's on the market. So you put Hendrickson and Sawyer in Washington, and you sign Bond. You've weakened the Eagles, and you got better. Couple guys I could see the Eagles looking at. Armand Mebo, the Missouri OT. Will Campbell, LSU, OT. Jackson Slater, Sacramento State. Eli Cox. These are some old linemen that I liked. He's a center. Some other dudes. Jamor Barrow, the cornerback from Texas, because of now with Slay. I'll tell you a guy that I didn't think had a good weekend also. That Cam Skeetaboo kid. I mean, he ran like a what? A 4.76? It's 40, or he didn't run a 40 or something. He ran some drills. Did he run a 40? At the combines? I know a lot of people were not impressed with him when he was at the combines. So would you take a flyer on him? What did he run? Shit, he ran like a 4.7? Oh, he didn't run. Okay. He didn't run a 40. So it's March 3rd, and there's no Zach Bond deal yet. Let's see what happens tomorrow. All right, guys. Appreciate you guys today. Tomorrow we're going to have Jeff Fisher at 3:30, former D coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles and also head coach of the Rams and Titans. Please hit the like button. Big C, appreciate it. Big Joe, thank you. 2 to 6 tomorrow, and we will see you on the flip side.